is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Two drivers, 11 points in the championship. It does not get much closer than that as we head with 5 rounds to go in the championship. Some say it's the form book versus the legacy, but it's more than just the legacy. There is also the veteran who has history on his side as well, waiting in the wings. We are back home again in Indiana because we are at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 4.19 kilometers, 13 turns, qualifying underway in this, the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, brought to you on the iRacing Esports Network. I am #DoYouMind, Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing, joined with Johnny Simone in the commentary booth with us. And right now, as things stand in qualifying, Martin Kroenke is top of the timing stands, 104.911, 4 tenths clear. Radicals online, Michael Partington in second as Mac Backham moves himself up into second position, making it a Coanda 1-2. Johnny, this is going to be exciting. This is the turning point of the season. Whoever takes victory here today has the momentum for the final 4 rounds of the season.
Exactly. Welcome, everybody. And Mitchell de Jong, who leads the championship standings at the moment, only by a slight little bit of points ahead of Martin Kroenke, who is our 2-time world champion, searching for that three times on the trophy right there. Kroenke teammates with de Jong, but of course, he's arguably been the quicker driver this season. He's had some bad luck. We know we're at Montreal, ended up finishing a lap behind with some technical issues, and of course, also his crash at Monza. You take those 2 things out of the equation, and he's by far been the quickest driver. Here we ride on board with Mitchell de Jong, who this could be his final full-time campaign in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, Jake. And you can see the feistiness in him this season. He's had the best racecraft I've ever seen from him, and the best speed we've ever seen from the American.
Mitchell de Jong is he's the only driver to be on course to challenge for 3 world championships, but the form has been dropping in qualifying as of late. Moves himself through turn number 7, looking to put the power down as early as possible, using all the runoff on the exit before charging towards 8, 9 and 10. Josh Rogers is up into second position. The Australian changed that. Jamie Fluke, he loves Indianapolis. He's up now onto the front row, mere hundredths away from Martin Kroenke, but we stay with de Jong, who now makes his way through turn number 11, now onto the banking at turn 12, which can be difficult in these vehicles. Worth talking about the wind speed here today as well. It's slow, 3 kilometers an hour. It won't play much of a factor. Through the bank, turn 14, IndyCar turn number 1. Across the line comes de Jong, 104.979, only good enough for third there, Johnny, and that's going to hurt. But don't forget, we got Gregor Hutu on the lap right now. The 5-time champion needs some help.
Yeah, you'll see Hutu now hugging the inside. You might think that slows the car down and increases the loads, but with low fuel, the drivers are unscathed by that. Here's Hutu to cross the line right now. Brilliant lap time by Gregor Hutu. He's never had a season in his career without pole position, Jake. In 2018, no pole position yet. Will today be number 1 for the season?
He would be only the 4th driver to have scored a pole position so far this year. He will join Martin Kroenke, he will join Mitchell de Jong, and he will join Peter Berryman in that list. As right now, Kevin Ellis Jr. looks to set his final lap in a 98, 6th in the championship. As things stand, only half a second, 4 tenths off of Gregor Hutu. Ellis Jr. for Apex Racing UK does a 105 flat, and he moves himself up past teammate Berryman and close rival in the championship. Josh Rogers now for Burst Esport. He's on his final lap. His teammate Marcus Jensen, of course, challenging for the McLaren Shadow title and looking to get himself into the McLaren Shadow Formula 1 team, or shall we say their esports team, moving forward. But Rogers now making his charge through the lefts and rights, and he only needs a 10th and a half. And I tell you what, Rogers is probably the brightest star in sim racing right now here, Johnny.
Yeah, he's very quick, Josh Rogers, the Australian. Could be a podcast, wink, wink, coming out in a few days with Josh Rogers on the Simon Racing Report, so stay tuned for that. But he's certainly a great young figure, wants to achieve a lot in not just sim racing, but he's a very quick young karter. Skips a lot of the final couple of corners here. So, and not the best lap so far, I don't think, from Josh Rogers. The lap time could deceive us here. Final corner for Rogers. And the Australian, who just gets demoted to 6th, now crosses the line, 1 minute 4.989. And Josh Rogers only in the 6th position. And that is qualifying done for Josh Rogers. Used up all his maximum 3 laps.
Get 3 laps, 15 minutes. You've got to set your 3 times within 15 minutes. You don't get until the session ends. You get to finish your lap. So you need at least 1 minute 4, or shall we say 64 seconds to get around and do a lap. Marcus Jensen on a lap, with Berryman now up into 3rd position in qualifying at a circuit which is very, very difficult to work on the setup. So here's Jensen moving himself through 8, now into 9 and 10. Of course, section of track which has been altered so many times over the years has always been difficult to work out what's the best way to flow back onto the banking. But Jensen maybe pushing slightly wide there on the exit, maybe just slowly clipping the grass, but shouldn't be enough to cause an off-track incident point which would invalidate the lap time for going off circuit. But here comes Jensen then, the Dane, looking to charge for the line, needs to find something more, and he finds a 105.030. He improves his time, but not his position. Mitchell de Jong is currently on his final flying lap, as is Matti Piatella, as is Mac Backham. Let's focus, though, on Mac Backham. He will be on Mac attack as he looks to charge for the line here, Johnny, and he needs to find something. His season has gone downhill through the midsection of this season, and he does himself a 104.850. Mac Backham to the top of the timing stands.
Provisional pole. He's put in a lot of practice, more than usual for Mac Backham. Here's Mitchell de Jong, his teammate, though, ready to steal pole position away. We ride on board with Mitchell through the middle part of the lap. Very technical track this, lots of medium speed corners through the middle sector here. Mitchell searching for the apex. There we go through the final couple of corners. Don't run too wide onto the grass there. Plenty. That rear anti-roll bar is set up quite well in that Coanda Sim Sport car right now as we head through the final corner here. Lots of load on the left side tires. Doesn't phase Mitchell in qualifying. Will he snatch pole position from his teammate? No. Across the line. No, front row for Mitchell, but not pole position. 7
thousandths of a second says I can't go close enough. Antoine Higeland, the Frenchman in Apex Racing UK colours, crosses the line, and he does himself no lap time, so he will not go any quicker. Stephen Michaels, now part of the brand new race clutch format, does a 105.201. Great lap time from the American Michaels. He does love to charge further forward. Got Daniel Bieder on a lap time. Jamie Flukes looking to come out and set a flying lap. Kroenke and Hutu both out on circuit as well, as I keep an eye on Balázs Remenik, the Hungarian driver, looking to charge himself through. He's looking for lap times. At the moment, he's down quite a fair order. I believe, though, he has moved to race clutch. I believe that would be my error, possibly, Johnny, not necessarily anyone else's.
There you go. He's coming across the line anyway, and he's quite an underrated driver, Balázs Remenik. He hangs in here and there across the line. 1 to 5.1. Not a bad lap time from Remenik up into P11. So Remenik's one of those drivers where this is the day he needs to capitalize. Low field out there, not many drivers present, and he needs to qualify well, just like he did there. His career best qualifying, only P8, so not even close to that today. But Jamie Fluke, the Apex crew, Jake, they're quite bullish about their expectations, and right now I'm not going to say I'm disappointed with them, but I feel like they could be a lot quicker in the race, so no need to panic if you're Apex Racing UK at this point in time.
Let's focus on the 49 machine of Jamie Fluke. We know that Kroenke and Hutu are both on lap times. Hutu will finish his time first ahead of Martin Kroenke, but Fluke through now 9, and he gets all heavy on the curb and through 10, and that may have just cost himself the run, and he will abandon that run, so he will finish no higher than 6th position in qualifying. Focus to the 5-time world champion Gregor Hutu, and literally just behind him on the road, the 2-time reigning champion Martin Kroenke. The pair of them both looking for a magic lap time, their final chances, and both of them currently share the 2nd row, and you can make overtakes into turn number 1 here at Indianapolis, but my goodness, would they like their luck lives to be so much easier. Hutu, the only red line driver here today, with all the others at the Fanatec event in Germany, which Will Vincent and Paul Smith are at and will be shown later today on the iRacing Esports Network. But Hutu rounding himself through the final corner, charging his way to the line. Can he find more? Answer, no, he can't. Can Kroenke? You bet he can. Pole position for Martin Kroenke, and he proves once again why he is the world's best in a McLaren MP430. That was vintage Kroenke.
Perfect from Martin Kroenke. And have a look at him now, slowing the car down. We talked about Mac Backham putting a lot of pace in, Jake, but Kroenke's another driver. As we see Paul Ilbrink, who, well, we don't know if Kroenke is going to be on pole position, because Ilbrink may have a shot here. He's still got one lap time to go, unless he can push a surprise there on the front row. I'm not just trying to underestimate Paul here, but you never know. Cross the line. This lap seems about a second off the pace so far. Ilbrink now for Radicals online. Cross the line, not even close. So down the order is Paul Ilbrink there. P23 so far. And all I have to say so far is about Kroenke is we spoke about Mac Backham having practice. Kroenke's put in more practice than usual as well. Those Coanda drivers in 1, 2, 3, it just goes to show the hard work and the contributions they've all made to each other's pace.
They certainly have. Every driver has completed all 3 laps of qualifying. We can run down through the qualifying grid then, and this is how things will step up for the World Championship race in a little over 15 minutes' time. Martin Kroenke then. Let's get the music playing. As he finds pole position with a 104.741. Fantastic lap time. A 10th quicker than Mac Backham in second position. 1 year ago, got himself to the lead at turn number 1 and then lost it after contact with Gregor Hutu. Mitchell de Jong starts from third with Gregor Hutu, the 5-time champion, in 4th position. It's all Apex on the third row. Peter Berryman and Jamie Fluke with it. All Burst Esports on the 4th with Josh Rogers ahead of Marcus Jensen. Kevin Ellis Jr. will start from 9th with Ilka Harpala for Orion rounding out the top 10. Vortex's Balazs Remenick will start from 11th. Vortex love the ovals, and they certainly love the work they're doing here. Stephen Michaels in 12th with Mogar Filio, and Antoine Higland down the order in 14th. Martin Piatella in 15th. He loves making positions up through the field with Ricardo Orozco 16th. Michael Partington is in 17th place. And you got Davide Korps, Tommy Erstgaard, Kazuki Umeshima, Dion Verges, Daniel Bieder, and finally Paul Ilbrink, a full 1.1 seconds off in qualifying for Radicals Online. But we're going to step aside very briefly here on the iRacing Esports Network, brought to you this one by RaceSpotTV, because we'll have the fallout from qualifying and we'll start gearing up to the race after this.
Before you can get on track, you'll need to calibrate your wheel and pedal set. You'll need to do this in iRacing even if you have already done this using your own controller software. Prior to entering the sim, make sure you've downloaded and installed the latest drivers from the manufacturer's website. Once that's done, follow these easy steps to calibrate your controller. We recommend calibrating in a test session, so pick a car and then click test. Don't go into a practice or official session. The last thing you want to do is have you go on track and crash into another car. Once you're in your test session, click on the options button. You will then see input calibration. This is where your calibration takes place. Start by clicking on the steering button. You will then be prompted to turn your wheel fully one direction and then another. Make sure you place your wheel back into its centering position before hitting done. Now, you'll be asked to turn your wheel 90 degrees to the left. Make sure it's at 90 and hold it there while hitting done. For pedals, click on the pedals button. Here you'll be asked to press the throttle all the way down and then release it. You'll do the same for the brake and clutch pedal if you have one. For the gearbox, you'll first be asked to set buttons for sequential shifting. Once complete, a prompt will ask if you have a H pattern shifter. If not, hit no. If yes, click it and you'll begin to map the gears individually. Once you've completed these steps, you are calibrated and ready to go racing.
He who sets his time last, sets his time fastest. And for Martin Kroenke, he saw the gauntlet thrown down before him. He looked at all his rivals and thought, yeah, I can do that. And not only did he do that, he did so a tenth of a second clear of anybody else in this field. The man who went unbeaten last year is also a man who has yet to go back-to-back this year, as has anybody else in this World Championship so far. Crazy to hear, 10 races in. But Johnny, you've got an eye on the flying lap that was put in by Martin Kroenke, and boy, is this a screamer.
Yeah, it certainly is. Martin Kroenke, pole position, 1 minute 4.741. We see him flying through the final corner right now of the main straight. Now, we don't know. We think low downforce is the quickest way around this circuit. Some teams running high downforce, but through turn 1, Kroenke searches for the brake marker. You want to trail brake into this corner and then try to unwind the steering wheel into turn 2. This should be flat out here through turn 3. To start off in qualifying. During the race, maybe a different story. Again, through the middle part of the lap, Kroenke looks on the ball right now. Heading through turn 6 and 7, tight through this corner. And then the right-hander of 7, the left-hand side tires in Indianapolis take such a beating, run it a bit wide. This is one of the DRS zones out there on the circuit during the race. Difficult overtaking spot. And then again, we see another trail brake zone on the circuit. That just means hang on to the brake pedal and send the car in as you're steering through turn 10 and 11 to end the lap right now. And turn 11, so difficult, the right-hander. Don't want to run right onto the grass. Rear anti-roll bar and the front anti-roll bar doing all the work through the medium-speed corner. And then, as we spoke about during qualifying, hug the inside towards the end of the lap. There's not enough fuel in this car to affect it. And that is a quick, blistering lap time from our two-time world champion, Martin Kroenke, at 1 minute 4.741. Incredible lap from him, Jake. And again, another pole position to the German.
Another pole position, and that will be pole position, I believe, number 6 of the year so far for Martin Kroenke. He has been sensational in qualifying, but we do have a couple of guests here joining us in Germany from Fanatec HQ. Got Will Vincent and Paul Smith. And Will, we have just seen a masterclass from Martin Kroenke. Such a fascinating qualifying, but more importantly, looking at Gregor Hutu, he's got no help out there. Why? Well, it seems that you found all of his teammates.
We have indeed. So hello from Germany. There's at least 2 people that cheered from that. We are here live at the Fanatec community event. And yes, Gregor's teammates are right now all stood up at the Fanatec podium photo call place doing a photo shoot. So, in terms of the qualifying itself, we saw that one. VRS have got themselves the advantage over Redline today, but one thing I will say, Paul, is that it will be a very interesting race.
Oh, it's going to be a fascinating race. So you look at how close qualifying was there between those drivers. It's going to be anybody's game really here, but the Commander guys, they've got to really work together and to make sure that they keep the rest of the teams out of this one.
Yeah, and Jake, if you're willing and able, we are going to actually try and get a word with Dom Duhan in a few minutes, because he is here at this event. And, well, I mean, he's happy that we've got Hutu in 4th place, but he's unhappy that he's got 3 Commander drivers ahead of him.
Well, there's no surprises there. Dom Duhan wants to win and win at all costs, so we'll see how that works. But more importantly than that, Johnny, you've got Matt Backham in 2nd position, someone who was lightning fast last year here at Indianapolis. You've got Mitchell de Jong, who will not want to help Kroenke one bit, the championship leader, by a mere 11 points. He will want to get past as quickly as possible. And then you've got everyone else behind that who wants to come in on strategy. Berryman, who's been getting quicker and quicker every single race. Fluke starting to find form. Rogers and Jensen, who have the ability to turn up and do absolutely anything. 8 drivers could easily win this race here today.
Yeah, definitely. If things go their way, I mean, the chaos into turn 1 at the start could come into play as well. We've seen a few accidents here over the years, but those Apex cars, I just want to keep one eye on them during the race because I'm quite bullish about their race pace at the moment. And I think they've quite nailed what you need here during the race, dependent on weather as well. But those cars look good there from the mid-pack, coming from the 3rd or 4th rows back. But again, Gregor Hutu from 4th, just perfect position to sort of attack the Commander SimSport cars. It's a very long run down to turn 1 here, Jake, from pole position. You see 670 meters. from pole position to turn 1, and that's perfect for Gregor Hutu to find his way and shuffle his way up the order and try and get P1 by the end of lap 1.
Yeah, and he certainly will get it. And Will, I believe you are standing by with a certain Redline boss known as Dom Duhan.
Okay, so I have got Dom Duhan here, who of course is the team principal for Team Redline. Dom, you've got Gregor Hutu in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series at Indy. He's 3 Commander drivers ahead of him. However, this is a track that you can't overtake at.
Gregor is in race.
I believe we're having the microphone issues.
And in terms of Redline, of course, they are also, most of your team is actually out here in Germany this weekend. A fantastic event, 20 years of Fanatec's parent company. And you've been, of course, a long-term partner. Walk us through that.
Yeah, we've been together for about...
Okay, we've just got a couple of microphone issues. But what we're trying to say is, of course, 10 years now, you guys, Team Redline and Tech, been working together. How special is that partnership?
Really important to us, and also just having support for not just people, other platforms as well has been really good.
We do apologise for those watching on the iRacing Esports Network for the issues they had there. Basically, what Dom Duhan said, really special to have 10 years worth of Fanatec and Team Redline working together. Hopefully, we'll get another couple of opportunities to talk to some drivers after this broadcast. Back to you, Jake and Jonathan.
You'd hope that in Germany that you'd be able to hear it, especially in an aircraft hangar, but it seems that we can't at the moment, Johnny. But let's talk about Hutu just very, very briefly right now, and that is going to be all about what he can do when he gets to the overtaking. We know that Redline like to run a higher downforce set traditionally than most, but here at Indianapolis, you really have to run low downforce if you want any chance of overtaking.
Now, I think we've seen over the years, high downforce has always been the worst option around here, in my opinion anyway. So certainly something I hope that teams have learnt their lessons from. Tire wear going to be critical today. We're expecting a 1 or 2 stop race, and it's dependent on driving style as well as setup. You know, can drivers make the tires last for 1 stop? And if they can, it's going to be extremely difficult to keep the car on the tarmac during that 1-stop strategy. So 2 stops is the safe option, but towards the end of the stint is where we'll see things go wrong for drivers. They're going to struggle to sort of just handle the car. They're going to struggle to make overtakes. There's going to be a whole lot more going on, and that's just something that we need to keep our eyes on come the race. But more importantly, Hutu from the second row to look out for. I also want to point out down the order as well, Ilkka Happala starting here from the 10th position, I think. My timing screen's played up. But of course, as well, Stephen Michaels with his new team, and Belisas Riminic, we think with Race Clutch, who knows, probably still with Vortex, starting alongside each other too. So those guys as well have a lot of experience in this series, especially Happala and Michaels.
Yeah, they certainly do have that experience, and we expect to see some fantastic racing from them all. And of course, Apex looking to make that charge as well, and they are doing a fantastic job in their time so far, and they should be looking to move up the field as well. But we're going to step aside very briefly here on the iRacing Esports Network, because when we come back, we are live and uninterrupted for the race here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We are back home again in Indiana, and it seems that we are going to see a turning point in the championship. Do not go away. We'll be back with more after this.
I'm Dave Kemmer. I'm the CEO and CTO at iRacing. And we started this back in 2004, so we're actually older than 10 years old, but we first opened up the site to the public in 2008. It actually got started about 30 years ago when we did our first game at Papyrus, which was Indy 500. And that actually was just about 30 years ago, a little less. I was working on it 30 years ago. And that just, led to IndyCar racing, NASCAR racing. We eventually did Grand Prix Legends, and then we took that Grand Prix Legends engine and put it on NASCAR 4, NASCAR 2002, 2003. And at that point, EA got an exclusive license with NASCAR, and the company that owned us at that point, which was Vivendi Universal, decided to shut the studio down because they couldn't figure out another way to make money with the tech that we had. And it was just about that time that I got connected with John Henry because he had just bought the Red Sox and come to town, and it turns out that he was a big fan of the NASCAR 2003 season. And so he came to the office just to visit one day, and we got connected. And we were talking about the fact that this was going to be shut down and what could we do with it. Certainly it didn't seem like Vivendi had an interest in using the code base, so he kind of helped us buy that code base back from them and set up iRacing, which we did in 2004. He got involved because he thought that the simulator was very cool. He just had a great time with it. In fact, he built up a league of his friends at home that, and they apparently raced so much that several of them started to suffer burnout. But no, he definitely is a dedicated sim racer.
He's typing! He's typing! He's got it! He's got it! It's a new line of code! I'll get my code.
There were a few things that we wanted to try to do when we were starting up iRacing that would be different than what we had done before. One was to make a web-based service for multiplayer. It just seemed like a natural way to be able to market and reach people directly rather than through a store or selling a box. John was very interested in building a sport, something that actually where there were rules and a sanctioning organization where it would really feel like what you're doing in the sim was meaningful. We kind of wanted to start from scratch. Using the technology that we had from Grand Prix Legends, but we started just pulling pieces of that and we built the code base up essentially from the ground up. I think John put it as it's sort of like in the old days of Papyrus, we were selling bats and balls and gloves, and he said, hey, let's create the playground and the ball field and make the umps and turn this into something. And it's interesting because really when we started in 2008, we didn't have very much content, but it was exciting right off the bat for that very reason that we had these rules. People could understand, hey, this is what's at stake. And at this point, 10 years in, I feel like we've really succeeded on that front. I think we've executed on that vision just as well as I could have possibly hoped we would. I've been surprised by how much progress we've made with the simulation. It blows me away when I see it. It's just like, wow, this looks really good. There's so many pieces in there and they all work. It's just really awesome. It's way beyond what we had 10 years ago. course, we have a lot of stuff that's in development, big things. You know, we've talked about the day-night transitions, the new damage model, better sound engine. There's just a lot going on and these are bigger projects which take a while to do, but when people see them and see the results, I think they'll really be pleased with it.
On the convergence of 16th Street and Georgetown, we are in Indiana because we are back home again at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and where you can dream about the moonlight on the Wabash as much as you like. This promises to be a treat if qualifying was anything to go by. We are under 5 minutes away from the race here on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure you subscribe right now, this very second, if you have not already. I am #DoYouMind Sperry, joined with the Racing Report man himself, Mr. Jonathan Simone. Jonathan, we are in a really interesting situation in the championship. It's close. 3 drivers can all fight for it. And right now, it's anybody's call.
It definitely is. The 3 drivers who certainly have 3 of the 4 drivers have the best chance for the title there. Mac Backham, Kroenke, de Jong starting the top 3. Hutu missed that critical round at Zandvoort due to technical issues, and that was the first week this season where you can't elect to use it as your drop round. So that's going to hit Hutu come championship time. He should be much higher in the standings, but hey, we got a long season yet to go. We've seen uncanny mistakes this season. We've seen Martin Kroenke, Bennett at Monza. We've seen technical issues for the 2-time champion. Hutu's made a trip back to victory lane. 2018, I've actually loved this season. Probably one of my favorite in quite some time.
It certainly has been an enjoyable season, and one which we have not seen a back-to-back winner. Of course, Martin Kroenke picked up his 3rd win of the season last time out when we were at Zandvoort. He's looking at pole position right now thinking, you know what? It's that late stage of the season back for his inaugural championship where he started to turn up the wick against Gregor Hutu and ultimately ran out with some fantastic victories. Is this the same Martin Kroenke of his first World Championship reign, where he's now starting to just put the building blocks in place, start gearing up for the last 4 rounds of the championship and giving it absolutely everything?
I think so, because this summer break we've had now, it's been a lot of weeks since the Zandvoort race, and we come back with a bit of a resurgence, and not just physically but mentally, and I think that's what this Coanda Simsport crew needed. We need more of the guys testing. We need more of them putting in more effort. Good to see Marty Piatella out there as well, who's going to start from 15th. Definitely not a good qualifying performance for his standards. But when you have, in general, in a sim racing team, the more numbers you have testing and contributing valuable input to understanding a car, now Coanda start to understand, oh, okay, this is what's going to work this time. Not maybe the high downforce, low downforce might work, and all these kinds of questions you figure out here and there. So the fact that Mac's been testing a lot, and I've heard that Martin and Mitchell putting in the same work as usual, plenty of time for these guys to dominate and hopefully finish 1, 2, 3 for the team. Let's see.
Well, hopefully we will see that. Of course, we've seen how Mitchell de Jong has been putting the effort to try and get 3 championships under his belt this year. Johnny, 2 things very quickly before we go to the grid. Do you think he's doing too much, and who's your pick?
Who's doing too much? Kroenke?
De Jong.
Oh, de Jong, sorry. No, de Jong's fine. He's having a great season, probably the best he's ever had, actually, Mitchell de Jong, and he leads the championship charge. My pick for the race, I don't know. This is a tough one. Can that be an answer, actually, Jay?
It's a cop-out answer, but it is an answer.
I have no idea who's going to win this race. That's how tight it is right up there at the moment. Now, Kroenke looks good, though. If I had to pick someone, I might pick him.
Well, there we go. There's the pick from Johnny Simone. I am going to abstain on a pick, but this is going to be a tough race, a tough pit road as well, especially moving from concrete to asphalt when you get off of pit road, and of course from that asphalt to the concrete. But we're getting ready to grid up, and here is how the grid will look. Coanda 1, 2, 3, Kroenke, Bakum, and then de Jong is how things look. De Jong, the championship leader. Kroenke, the man second in the championship, 2-time reigning champion. Mr. 5-time Gregor Hutu in 4th. Peter Berryman and Jamie Fluke make it all Apex. Row 3, Row 4 is all Burst Esport. Then you've got Kevin Ellis Jr., Ilka Harpala, Balazs Remenick, and Stephen Michaels, your top 12. Rest of the grid cycling down on your screen right now as we get ready for 73 laps worth of racing here at the majestic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They call this place the home of racing. It's more than that. It sometimes can be classed as the home of sim racing for many who are involved in this majestic circuit. Many look to try and invoke the likes of last year. Many look to the iRacing Indianapolis 500 and the work that Josh Chin did to pick up a victory. But more than that is at stake. This is about victory. Last of the drivers then, getting ready to get up onto the starting grid. Engine notes in just a moment will start to rise, and we are green, and we are go, and Kroenke slow off the start. De Jong's got a stormer, and he starts charging to the inside. No, he's got to go the long way around. Hutu now starts attacking Bakum for 4th position as they dive towards turn number 1, and Kroenke's got the whole shot, 3 wide behind, and there's contact in the middle of the pack. I believe that was Kevin Ellis Jr. potentially. No, Jamie Fluke, I believe, who's been turned around. That's not ideal for the Northern Irishmen as they charge themselves through the infield section for the very first time. Drama that has allowed the first 5 to get away, and a massive gap back now to Josh Rogers, but crucially it's clean for Kroenke off the start, Johnny.
Yeah, exactly what Kroenke needed. He had the inside line. Behind it looked like Rogers, Fluke, and maybe it would have been Gregor Hutu were 3 wide into the first corner. Rogers had a blistering start. He's up in a P6 though, only gained 1 position, and I think that's where Fluke may have ran it deep into the first corner. You see that bottleneck at this circuit year after year. Now through turn 11, there's Josh Rogers on board, following him now on the first lap, and ahead of him Peter Berryman right behind Mac Bakum, looking good to start this race. But for Gregor Hutu, the perfect start, he needed to split at least 1 Coanda driver, and he's done exactly that.
And he's got the most ferocious driver behind him, Mac Bakum, who loves to attack. No DRS until the start of lap number 3 here at IMS. But for the moment, Kroenke, de Jong, Hutu, your 3 title rivals are 1, 2, and 3 in this race. Battle behind Ilka Harpala going at it with Marty Piatella. The 2 Finns battling. Piatella has already found 5 off the start, looking for position number 6. Can't do it around the outside of turn number 4. Instantly turns off into a defense now because Antoine Higeland, the Frenchman, has made 3 positions of his own on the opening lap, and he wants to start making through and getting positions, Johnny.
Yeah, it certainly does, Anton Higeland. His teammates are a lot quicker than him this round, and that should definitely be in his head. He wants to outperform them as much as possible. He's a very streaky young sim racer. Some days he's right up there in the top 5, others he's down here outside the top 10, and he's already lost a position to Marty Piatella, although he's made up 3 off the start line, which it's a bittersweet start for Higeland nevertheless. Dirty air through this corner. You can see Higeland kicking up some grass into the air. It's so difficult through turn 11. The dirty air makes the car an absolute dog to drive.
It certainly does, and Kroenke is already breaking away 0.8 of a second at the front. Lap 3, DRS in activation. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get live timing and scoring. Head over to RaceSpot.tv/timing. If there's a vehicle we've missed, you can keep an eye on things for the moment. De Jong under pressure for second position as things stand, but Martin Piatella is finally through on Ilkka Harpala and up into the 9th position, and that's crucial for his charge. But you can see Hutu taking a contrasting line through turn number 6, opening up turn number 7. But ultimately, Johnny, this is going to be a tough circuit to overtake on, especially with not many straights to deal with apart from the big main overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, exactly, on the main straight. And if they do have to make it during the pit stops, lap 19 is when we'll see the 3-stoppers in. You'll be ridiculous if you 3-stop in this race. So expect lap 24, your first runners, to come into the pit lane for a 2-stop. For Hutu, this is perfect. It seems Redline so far have the lower downforce car. I may be wrong with that. Could be due to how Coanda are using their ERS early on in this race. But Redline last time around with Hutu had the quickest, were the quickest in the speed trap out of the top 4. 350 kilometers an hour for the top 3. They're that quick, but Redline is so fast here with Hutu in a straight line, and this could play to perfection come the end of the race, Jake. You know, save more fuel, quicker in a straight line as well, less downforce, and this could play to perfection. I'm liking this so far for Hutu.
And even worse, De Jong has just lost the DRS, so he will be now starting to fall backwards. We've still got that scrap going on around 9th position. Great scrap at the back of the pack as well. Behind Umeshima, you've got Ilbrink, Orozco, and Ørsgaard all together. Of course, Ørsgaard, a former positive sim racing driver. Orozco driving for that University Isabel, the first positive sim racing machine. And there you can see Ilbrink running wide through 7, but maybe unable to capitalize on this one now as Ørsgaard starts feigning a look to the inside. The Norwegian unable to make that move into turn number 8, and he will be sat there all the way towards turn number 1 from there on in.
Ørsgaard will get better as the race progresses. He's hardly practiced. He's been on summer break as we ride on board with Kazuki Umeshima. Look behind him. Search for his Paul Ilbrink, his teammate, who right now just lost the position to him last lap around. But for Ørsgaard, as we said, has been sick as well. He's been on holidays. He should get better as the race progresses. Overtake to come here for the Coanda SimSport car. Orozco also trying to make a move on Paul Ilbrink. He could be demoted another couple of positions. And breaking down the inside is Orozco. Still alongside each other as Ilbrink carries the momentum through the first couple of corners. Ørsgaard trying to search for a position here into turn 3. Not full throttle early on in the race. They're fat, full of fuel, these McLarens. And Ørsgaard around the outside here. Perfect move for Tommy Ørsgaard. Can he hang it into the middle sector?
And now Stephen Michaels, the ex-PSR driver of his own, wants it, but a wiggle from Ørsgaard as there's a look back then from Ricardo Orozco. Put the power down, charge to turn 8. DRS then in full effect, and it's all Ørsgaard's as he tries to cover it. Big dive to the inside from the Brazilian Orozco, and he's unable to make it work. Now Michaels can start thinking about attacking, but that's not quite forthcoming. Hutu now under pressure in 3rd position. Mac Backham is tucked, and within 0.2 of a second, maybe even 1/10 of a half. This is a disaster right now for Gregor Hutu, because here comes Mac attack, and it's defensive line already from Gregor Hutu. He senses the desperation of letting Coanda go 1, 2, 3, and you know what? You've got not much to fight back with. Hutu back down to 4th with a kick of the tail to boot. Backham has made it Coanda lock again.
356 kilometers an hour for Mac Backham. We talked about him putting an extra effort for this round, and I think he's figured out how to make this Coanda SimSport car quick around Indianapolis. The 2-time race winner this season. He's made it a Coanda 1, 2, 3. Thrilling pass into turn 1. Hopefully have a look at it soon as well, but just sent it around the outside, and it was just pure confidence as well. That move in the cockpit, you just can't doubt yourself, or else you'll end up either in the grass or having an accident. So just pure driver confidence from Mac Backham. Here's the replay on screen, and you'll have a look at it right now. Hutu goes defensive. Backham here, don't ignore the brake marker, and you have to recognize as well, as Backham now sends it around the outside, you're going quicker than usual, Jake, so your brake marker, you may even have to brake about 10 meters earlier than usual. Backham, perfect overtake.
Yeah, Perfect overtake from Matt Backerman. He can now consolidate to look to charge down Kroenke and De Jong. The gap 1.2 seconds then at the front of the field. And after 7 laps, we can start thinking as well a bit about strategy. But Ilbrink under pressure. Here's Erskard having to go the long way around by the time he gets to turn number 1. But so much overspeed when you hit yourself onto the oval. And that was pretty easy from Erskard, who gets past Ilbrink, who was last in qualifying and doing very well. 1 retirement so far in this event, and that is the Frenchman David de Courx from Orion Race Team. A shame to see that happen, as Jamie Fluke as well, right at the back of the train, has started to make his progress back through. He's got past Daniel Bieder, the Israeli driver there, Johnny.
And he has damage too, so he's going to have a long pit stop. I mean, this day is almost basically done for Jamie Fluke. So he has quite some good character, Jamie Fluke, and that's what you want out of drivers. Your race ends on lap 1. Don't just rage quit and quit the race like we see from a lot of other drivers this season. It's just a huge cop-out. This is the driver you want to have on your team. Jamie Fluke, who continues racing away and tries to salvage a great result and some good points for his team.
Yeah, and he's certainly doing a good job. Battle on for 6th position right now. Josh Rogers, the Australian youngster, against Kevin Ellis Jr., the Scotsman, looking to try and close it down and get apex both 5 and 6 once again here, as Rogers pretty much getting a lot of help here from Peter Berryman, who is only 9/10 of a second down the road, but it's still enough in that DRS range. You can really cover it off with ERS deployment. Still something that a couple of teams up and down the grid here, Johnny, have really managed to struggle with over the course of the last 2 years, in especially the MP430 life cycle.
Yeah, it's such a tough car to master here. The ERS has been difficult. We saw what happens at Watkins Glen with Coanda, Jake, which was, I don't think, and personally a lot of teams are saying they noticed Coanda just couldn't figure out the ERS, and they got it wrong for Watkins Glen. After that round, they seem to be very quick, and now they're 1, 2, 3. So you make errors every now and then. You want to figure out the McLaren and learn as much as you can over time. The difficult thing is those drivers coming in as rookies and may have 1 or 2 years less of experience in the McLaren. It just makes such a dramatic difference in terms of pace and in terms of knowledge, experience, strategy. So the more updates that come and the more time you put in, the easier it is to reel these top drivers in.
Yeah, it certainly is, as Gregor Hutu starts thinking about making a move down to the inside at turn 1. He's not close enough to make that happen, but he's starting to force Matt Backham to think about how he is going to be making those moves. Let's get a replay, though, of what's happened on the opening lap of this event. And a big thing is Jamie Fluke and how he's been involved in this one, because he had absolutely nothing he could do. Kroenke was a little slow off the start. That allowed Mitchell de Jong to go on the offensive. But you're going to see, Johnny, how they're 3 wide in, and it's 2 wide behind, and really it's just Jamie Fluke getting unlucky, just clipping on the inside, nowhere to go. And you'll see in the background there, that's David de Courx, I believe, spinning around from the middle of the pack.
Yeah, so Fluke as well. I mean, I think that was all Jamie Fluke's fault, because I mean, he just sent it deep, made a mistake. You know, I don't want to say it's his fault like he did it on purpose. He just, there he is on the inside of the racetrack. Here we ride on board with him. And yeah, Jamie just went in too deep. I think there was room there on the inside, but it's so difficult because, as you see, Jake, you have to slow down more than you expect. And this is something you can actually practice during testing, is try a tight line through the corner and see how fast you can go and carry such a tight line through there. But it's so hard to judge in the moment. Look at the mid-pack. I think that was Stephen Michaels having a terrible start. Awful from him, and almost caused chaos behind.
Well, we saw there were 4 wide almost, and there was one almost into the wall there, actually, on the run down in. And I wonder, let's just get a look on board here with Stephen Michael and see exactly how that start went. Oh, he just bogs down horribly. So does the Vortex car in front as well of Reminick. Both of them struggling, and that was enough for them to really lose time in the long run of things. And it was an Orion car, I do believe it was almost into the wall. Yeah, it's the one on the outside. Lucky there was no contact, but let's go back live then and see pictures as things stand, because it's no change for your front 4 at the moment. But sure, isn't it, packing up behind position number 5. Berryman is only about 1.3 seconds behind the Gregor Hutu train. He's desperately trying to stay with this one, but look at who he's bringing with him right now, Johnny. Rogers, Ellis Jr., Jensen, maybe even Piatella and Harpler if they're not careful. They are not breaking away as much as they have done in prior races this season, Johnny.
Berryman has the pace to win races. We know that. The thing with Rogers is he just struggles as the stint progresses, and that's what we noticed this race is. You're going to see now, what are we on? Lap 11 of 73 as the leaders head through the first sector. And the more the stint progresses, drivers are going to be less on rails. and the car's going to be more difficult to drive. You're not going to see Josh Rogers quite easy now on the steering, unwinding it nice and easy through the first sector. Just quite simple, but towards the end of the stint, this car is going to be a handful. And I think that's where Josh Rogers has struggled this season, Jake, is just trying to handle the car as the stint progresses. He's really struggled with the tires.
Yeah, I think he has as well, but he's got a lot of years with Burst that he can use. Of course, using Burst, part of the Formula One program. He spends most of his time with TTL Esports, mainly in a V8 supercar, also in the VRS GT World Championship as well. Of course, the famous win at Bathurst was one which many people will look and remember as Josh Rogers being a fantastic talent, but been keeping on a little battle further down the field because Paul Ilbrink has been under a lot of pressure. Dion Verges was looking for a move into turn number 1 last time by, and now Michaels wants to get in on the mix as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Paul Ilbrink's put in that much practice because he's had a great start. Now he's flying down the order. Started last, remember, as well. 23 drivers out there. And now he's right behind Ricardo Orozco. Verges not even close. Michaels, first race with Race Clutch. DRS Open. Oh my goodness, these guys, I don't know what's going on. Either it's high downforce or mismanagement with ERS. There's something wrong because Michaels is going 322 kilometers an hour with DRS open. And we saw Mac Backham earlier on. Full power, used all of the ERS power he had to get past Hutu, 356. So Michaels may be on the conservative early on in the event.
Well, he certainly does seem conservative, and maybe a fuel game. Some drivers, especially at a short track like this, would like to underfuel their vehicle. You can't fuel, of course, when you get to pit stops, but if you underfuel that car, you have an opportunity to be lighter around your work and able to do those laps just that little bit quicker. Again, Gregor Hutu on the end of lap 12, start of lap 13. Not quick enough here, Johnny, but talking about pit stops, what are we sort of seeing here between the 2-stop and the 1-stop? When's the windows going to open?
Yeah, 24 for the 2-stop, and we're expecting about 29 at the earliest for a 1-stop. So if a driver can stretch out this first stint to lap 29, very optimistic, by the way. Yeah, we'll probably expect them to 1-stop. But I mentioned before about Hutu and fuel. Right now with low downforce, maybe able to save a bit of fuel. It actually does make a difference because he can start the race with a lower fuel load compared to a driver on high downforce, and that means it's much easier on the load on the tires. We know the left-hand side tires on this car take such a beating at Indianapolis. Front to rear, it's pretty balanced as well in terms of where, compared to a track like, let's say, Montreal, the rear tires take such a beating around there. So Hutu now through the final couple of corners through turn 11. Cut the curb through there. Right. Maximizing the track width on the exit. You can see Backham fly away into the distance. Coanda, Jake, have mastered so far in these first 13 laps Indianapolis this year. We saw this Spa 2016. Yeah. This much practice for Coanda. They just mastered the car when they put in a lot of effort.
Here comes Ellis Jr. down to the inside of Josh Rogers. This the move for 6th position, and Ellis Jr. is earlier on the brakes. Rogers will fight it around the outside, back to the inside. The touring car experience coming into play, but unable to put the power down. Sits behind at turn number 3, and Ellis Jr. moves himself up into 6th place. A textbook move by all looks of life, and that was pretty good. Also worth noting as well that Mogar Filio is starting to drop back a lot. Umeshima has now moved up into 12th position as well, Johnny.
Yeah, so again, we see Rogers being passed midway through a stint. So replay on screen, and Rogers, yeah, you see this corner here, coming onto the banking and the final corner, it's so difficult as the stint progresses. You can see a lot of drivers possibly even lose the car dangerously today. Ellis Jr. up the inside. This is a braking battle here with confidence, and Rogers just doesn't have track position into the corner. Has the line into turn 2, but there's that slight outside line for Ellis Jr. There's a lot of grip around there, and he's able to sail through into P6. Good move by Kevin Ellis Jr.
Yeah, fantastic move. Max Piatella, Ilka Harpala, Antoine Higeland all close together, and you feel in this situation, if you're stuck in a DRS train, there's not much you can do, but if you're Antoine Higeland, there is, and he's going to pitch the man to the outside. There's contact, and Higeland saves it on the run into turn number 1. That was dangerous from Ilka Harpala. He did not see, he did not judge the way his vehicle was, and that could have ended in a catastrophic incident if Antoine Higeland had not been so expert with his car control.
How did he save that car? Antoine Higeland, here's the replay all the way from the final corner. I don't even know what went on here from the camera angle we have, but riding on board with him, He went for, well, aggressively defensive by the Orion Race Team car. How did he save that Higgelen to the max there? And that's just muscle memory confidence, you know, in the save. You need a slight bit of luck, but that's at 300 kilometers an hour, and he's able to save that and brake as well at the same time. That's just, oh my goodness, one of the best things I've ever seen in this series.
That is Antoine Higgelen with possibly the save of the season. And Johnny, don't you think that Ilkka Harpla was trying to angle back to the outside to make the turn number one, but ultimately really was not expecting maybe Antoine Higgelen to hold his line?
We need to analyze that, don't we, later on in the event, but I don't know. It looked like Higgelen was turning. Harpla was also turning into him at the same time. Racing incident, I have to say. I don't know. Hard to judge. I don't want to judge it anyway. And I'm just glad they didn't take anybody in front of him, because Piatella's been having a cracking race in the other Co-Ed car. Yeah.
You can certainly say that as well. Martin Piatella will be next on the list for Antoine Higgelen, and you wonder if there is any damage to that rear left tyre or any suspension damage at all. It doesn't look like it from the way that he has been running his lap time, so he'll stay good for the moment as things stand. So right now, your top 8, let's get them up on your screen. Martin Kroenke currently leads this one. The gap over 2.7 seconds at the moment to Mitchell de Jong as they now make their way past the yard of bricks and over the line. Now 3 seconds with Mac Backham in third. Gregor Hutu is in fourth with Peter Berryman fifth and Kevin Ellis Jr. in sixth. Then it's Josh Rogers and Marcus Jensen, your top 8 as things stand. Great battle going on though towards the rear. Dion Verges under pressure now. Here's Stephen Michaels, who has been struggling when it's come to top speed, and you can see just how much he loses heading through the right-hander, and he's completely stuck, not even using his ERS. Here comes Jamie Fluke from an absolute mile back down the inside. That's very easy, and Stephen Michaels, it's almost as if he's got an ERS issue there maybe, or something there, John.
Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with the setup. I don't know if he has an issue or not, but they need to go back to the drawing board with that. So, I mean, first race with Race Clutch, they're struggling. It's an exciting time for them, but that's just, I mean, 40, that's almost dangerous. You're like 40 kilometers an hour slower than you should be in that situation. This is ridiculous. So, Michaels right now, I feel for him. They definitely need some support. Fluke, though, is on a charge. Spoke about his character. And through the middle sector, he seems to be reeling in these two in front. Who's next on the list? Burgess in front, Ilbrink, Orozco. Quite a good comeback so far.
Yeah, very good. He's back into 19th position as things stand. He was all the way down in 22nd. But we do have to remember as well here, Johnny, that he will be probably changing that front wing at the stops. And that's going to cost him 6 seconds in the overall as well. And those 6 seconds are very, very hard to come by.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll be able to pick off these drivers the most, but he makes past, again, another driver there of Dion Burgess, straight up the inside, Jamie Fluke. But I don't know. I think when you're in this situation, Jake, yeah, the time's important, the 6 seconds, because it could be valuable points at the end of the race, but I don't think he's going to be stuck behind any of these guys. He has top 5 pace.
Here's Tommy Erskard around the outside of Mogar Filio, looking at 6, not quite finding it. Filio's lost a position to Partington as well over the course of that lap. That was down into turn number 1. So Mogar Filio going backwards, and someone who had top 5 pace about 5-6 years ago now starting to struggle more and more as these seasons toll on, and you wonder if Mogar Filio maybe is starting to fall behind his prime a little bit. But right now, Erskard harassing the rear of Mogar Filio, and surely this one's got to be text, but look at them, how much tighter the line that Erskard can take, and he can't get it done at the final corner in IndyCar turn number 1. Looks hard to the inside to go and make that move out of road on the outside, and Johnny, this one's elementary, my dear Simone.
Yeah, there was something wrong with Filio's exit at turn 11. It was horrid, and there's a result. He gets passed by Tommy Erskard. The guy's put in like 20 laps of practice, I think, for this whole event. So Erskard making his way up through the field. We have to say as well, for Filio, I don't know if he's struggling with tyre wear at this stage. Radical's always been known for struggling with the tyre wear. In the McLaren, he's going extremely slow through the middle sector now, so something will come into play. Your leaders, by the way, Kroenke, he's extracted the gap to 3 seconds. And de Jong's in second, still consistently ahead of Mac Backham. By the way, Mitchell de Jong, Kevin Ellis Jr., the only 2 drivers out there this season to complete all laps.
Well, that's very telling, but don't put the curse on them just yet here, Johnny, as now Mac Backham is all over Mitchell de Jong. And remember, Mac Backham maybe on the outside fringes of a title battle. No team orders, of course, at Coanda. If you want to fight, fight. But there was a little bit of a missed apex there from Mitchell de Jong, starting to feel the effect of Mac Backham, the Dutchman, breathing down his neck here as they head into 6. And next up, turn number 7. And Gregor Hutu will just be hoping that Mac finds the Mac of last year, and he starts running into his teammate and gets himself 2 free passes up into 2nd position. For Mitchell de Jong, he's just hoping, please don't battle me, Mac. I need as many points as I can get.
Something's up with Mitchell. I think the tyres are starting to give up on him. And it's definitely not the rears, at least, because his traction seems fine. See, through turn 11, he seems good. But rest of the car here, this is the difficult part drivers have been talking about. The jump onto the banking, there's a slight bit of elevation change there. And then here's the corner that really rips the Pirelli rubber apart. Hutu's fallen. By the way, where's Hutu? He's a country mile behind. Backham all the way up to 340 kilometers an hour. DRS wide open for sure here. Not using all his energy recovery system as well, so definitely more potential for Mac Backham. You can see the hunger of how he wanted to get past Hutu early on, Jake. 356. Did I say that number? How many times have I said that?
At least twice already.
356 kilometers an hour. Incredible.
Yes, as we've got track Matt Conke versus Hutu. Here's Dion Vergis, though, who's stalling a bit at 351 on the brakes. Move happens just in front as Ricardo Orozco gets dispatched by Jamie Fluke, but Ilbrink holding on to the position. Great top speed package there from the Radicals vehicle, and that was pretty nice in the overall as well. Jamie Fluke with another good move down into turn number 1, Johnny.
Good move from Jamie Fluke. He's out. We've got to sponsor him. Our charger through the field. Sponsors welcome. And he's making his way up now. What's that? Into P16. So replay on screen. Jamie Fluke past Ricardo Orozco. Send it up the inside. Trusts Orozco. Is aware and he's looking in his mirrors. Simple move for Jamie Fluke. One of the smartest drivers out there on the grid. So he's improving race by race. I was about to say pace by pace. His pace is improving. And that pit window, Daniel Beat, I was going to say that pit window is opening in a couple of laps, Jake, so look out for that. De Jong may need to come in first.
Well, talking about that, Daniel Bieder has just come out of pit road, so he has made his stop early. He was in 21st position, so probably going for a very aggressive 2-stop, we feel at this stage here, Johnny. Either that or he absolutely hates the tyres that he's on.
Yeah, 2-stop for sure. Probably trying to undercut as well. Depends where he is in terms of race position. So the positive sim racing driver in the, very useless DRS zone. I mean, I've hardly seen an overtake here during the years. Rogers struggling up ahead. Rogers, of course, he's lapped Daniel Bieder. Daniel Bieder lapped behind along with Balazar Reminick in this race. The traffic now starting to come into play. But now that pit window, we said it's opening. Will De Jong, Backham, Hutu enter a lap early? No, they continue. So De Jong, sometimes you may need a lap or two to cool the tires down. What the struggle with the McLaren, Jake, is just trying to stop the heat building into the tires, because that's what affects these drivers the most. You need to keep that temperature cool for the whole race.
Marty Piatella dives down onto pit road in the 96 VRS Coanda SimSport machine. He alleviates himself from 9th position out on the road, and he will go for the aggressive undercut then on the 2-stop strategy. We'll keep an eye on this because Ilkka Harpala is all over the rear of Antoine Higlan, and if they start battling here, Johnny, this is perfect for Piatella. He wants to get past Jensen, probably Josh Rogers as well over the course of this first stop.
And don't forget, Piatella as well will be quicker lap after lap at the moment. 1 minute 9.5 early on in the event with more fuel was doing 1 minute 7.7. So Piatella here could be 3 seconds a lap faster at best and will easily find himself past those drivers. And the fact that they're squabbling could be damage done.
It could be damage done as Mitchell de Jong dives down for pit road. Mac Backham follows in the footsteps. Hutu and Kroenke, the 7 championships between them, stay out. De Jong was all over the place coming down to pit road. He was as wide as you like, almost hitting the inside retaining wall as he looks to find his box. And now look at how much time he has lost in comparison there to Mac Backham. They will search for their lanes. They will switch from the asphalt to the concrete, which is always a very difficult braking property that we see, very synonymous with these American tracks as they now look to get themselves onto the lane. Expect 4-second stops for the pair of them, and De Jong will hit his box first. Mac Backham up and down and off and away goes De Jong, followed swiftly by Mac Backham, and they will feed out behind Ricardo Roscoe, behind Ilbrink, behind Michaels. Disaster stop then for the Coanda boys. They've got heavy, copious amounts of traffic as Rogers also came in with Jensen.
And if you think about it, perfect two-stop strategy on lap 24, but they have to account for traffic now. Did they pit too early? They're going to be about 2-3 seconds a lap faster. Piatella right now is blisteringly quick out there. 1 minute 7.7 for him. Kroenke in the lead, 1 minute 8.8 last lap round, and he doesn't pit. So that's how quick they are. Hutu enters the pit lane though. Important pit stop for him. And yes, he will not pass Backham or De Jong, depending on traffic. But of course, Hutu will be quicker for the entirety of this second stint.
That's very true. Keep an eye also on Ilka Harpala. Sorry, not Ilka Harpala, but Mats Piatella. Sorry, he managed to jump Marcus Jensen in the stop, so that was crucial on his outlap. We'll keep an eye then on Gregor Hutu. Let's get up on screen where Mitchell de Jong is in comparison. That's heading across the banking, and he's got to go around the outside, and they're blocking here as they look to go through. De Jong using the DRS to his advantage. Out and away comes Gregor Hutu, and he needs to get up to speed as quickly as he can. The cone's very late, and he'll lose both positions. One to Matt Backham as well. No advantage there for Gregor Hutu, staying out an extra lap. The traffic has helped for Mitchell de Jong, but Backham now has to try and get through before Hutu chases him down like nobody else's business.
It's not the best outcome for the Finn here, for the 5-time world champion, but it is an ideal outcome. You now have 1 lap fresher rubber, and look at these drivers up in front. Mac, this is nerve-wracking. Onto the grass, trying to get around the driver there of Ilka, oh, not sorry, Ilka Harpala, of one of the Orion racing team cars up ahead. So Dion Burgess, excuse me. So Burgess now lets Hutu through. Hutu also gets a little bit of a dose of DRS, and Mac Backham cannot make his way past Paul Ilbrink, the Radicals online driver. Ilbrink, a roadblock through the final sector. Will Hutu be able to make his way past? He's just a little bit too far behind.
Well, for the moment at least, but look how slow Paul Ilbrink is, and I think he'll dive onto the lane and let him go. So Hutu's got the better of that, but runs incredibly wide up the banking there, and that's going to cost him maybe a half a tenth compared to Backham. But Backham is safe for the moment, and that's very crucial. Martin Kroenke has come in and come out of his stall, and he has got himself the race lead once again. So your front runners all on a 2-stop. The one driver who has stayed out through all of this is Peter Berryman in the 69 Apex Racing UK car. Is he going for the one-stop strategy here, John?
Possibly, if you can stretch it to lap 29. And if it'd be anyone, it would be Apex. I think Apex are definitely the most confident with the low downforce that they have this race. Comes through the final corner. You can see the rubber there on the inside. We saw Hutu early on. It was off camera that Jake and I were reacting to. Up high on the banking, Jake, and that is no good for Pirelli tires, which are so sensitive in this McLaren. We spoke about minimizing the heat buildup. Just ridiculous as Higglen we see enter the pit lane. It's a lone Anton Higglen. No one on racetrack at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, no one on racetrack at all. And well, we'll see where he comes out in comparison. We're in the middle of the first pit stop window here on the iRacing Esports Network. Everything just getting a little bit jumbled up at the moment, with your race leader currently scored as Peter Berryman, who we think is going on to the one stop. Out and away then comes Antoine Higgland off of pit road. And it is worth noting that green cone to get back up to racing speed is so late on this pit road. Technically isn't even on pit road to get back up onto speed, and I have to feel that it has been hurting people, and it really does also make things very difficult at turn number 1 when you've got drivers who really don't have any momentum to deal with. Such a massive difference in top speed coming out of pit road to going into turn number 1 from about 350, Johnny.
Yeah, and just remember, this track was designed to go the other way, so the pit lane is not supposed to be like that. They just decided, hey, let's build this road course and slap the pit exit there. We'll see if it works. Seems to do. Hey, I think they need to like sort of edit turn 1 here and sort of have the pit exit cut through, so you join on the exit of turn 1 around the outside, if that makes sense.
Yeah, That certainly does make sense. The 4 drivers then who have yet to pit at the moment are Peter Berryman, Kevin Ellis Jr., Ilka Harpala, and also Jamie Fluke as well. Fluke under pressure though. Here's Mitchell de Jong just behind, looking to try and get through. Difference in lap times that last time by was a full 1.2 seconds. Now just look at Mitchell de Jong here. He's going to struggle through this section. I think he's trying to open up to the inside. 2 wiggles there from Jamie Fluke, trying to stay out of the way there of Mitchell de Jong, and just like that, de Jong makes light work of Jamie Fluke, and that's exactly what he wanted to do here, because he's already, get this, 4.5 seconds back of Martin Kroenke.
Yeah, and Kroenke also pitted later, so a double whammy there for his teammates. Kroenke could leave this round as championship leader. Back again. I didn't remember if, has Martin led the championship at all this season? It's something to look into. Round 1, and that was it. So, ironically, he's been one of the quickest drivers. Now will, in P1, gain 20 points ahead of Mitchell. He's 11 points behind in P2. Certainly gain the championship advantage. Here's Mac Backham now making a pass on Fluke. You have to pit this lap if you're Fluke. Oh, maybe not. Well, the pit window for a one-stop opens now anyway. Mac Backham's simple move here past the Apex Racing UK driver.
Down to the inside, he'll go and look and make it. No ERS for either of them as they both stall out, and Matt Backham comfortable on the brakes, but maybe goes a little bit too deep here. That's going to compromise the run then through turn number 2, and it's going to allow Gregor Hutu maybe a chance to dive one down to the inside at 4, and on cue the same move as Mitchell de Jong, only a lot more smoother there. Gregor Hutu very swiftly past Jamie Fluke, but already still half a second behind Matt Backham, and this has been the red line crux of the last 3 years. Unable to get past Coanda cars. What does Gregor Hutu have to do to make a move? We've seen him do it once already today. That was on lap 1. Since then, it's been a no-go for overtaking.
Well, we saw him Watkins Glen, final lap. Few corners to go. Won the race, didn't he, on Mitchell de Jong? And Hutu certainly got the potential. He's got the racecraft. I've always been openly critical about his racecraft over the years and said, you know, is he aggressive enough? But he certainly proved me wrong. And he's the complete driver you'd want. 5 world titles to his name, but it's just so hard to pass a car that's exact identical speed as you, even with DRS open. And if you had to get stuck behind a Coanda driver, I think the last one he'd want to be stuck behind is Mac Backham at this stage.
It certainly would be. Mac, of course, a very ferocious defender. And let's not forget here, Johnny, 1 year ago, lap 1, turn number 6, the pair of them come together, and Mac Backham gets hit with a 1-round penalty after that sort of contact. These two have history. They've made contact on no less than 3 occasions in the last 12 months, shall we say.
Yeah, 24 hours you're going to say, right?
No. Well, that'd be something else.
Yeah. We're talking about Mac, right? Yeah, I like... What I've really been fascinated by is Mac's growth over the years. Same personality, hasn't changed who he is, but just his approach to racing and just his demeanor out there on the racetrack, it's been just magnificent to watch. And I think the Coanda culture has been a contributor. I think his maturity as he's gotten older has been a contributor too. But we knew from back in the day that he's always going to be a quick driver. And we always say, oh, you win one race, it could be a fluke. He's got 2 race wins to his name. He's deserved them both, even though some luck's come his way. I mean, Monza, yeah, Kroenke crashed out. You know, Mac earned that win. And Montreal, all right, Kroenke had the technical issues, but you always need a little bit of luck to win life.
You certainly do. Tommy Erskard right now in the back for 14th position. He's got Kazuki Umeshima of Radicals Online just in front. And Kazuki Umeshima's had a very quiet race so far. It's been all on his own. But here comes Erskard closing down that gap. Moving to the inside. Defensive late move there from Umeshima. Trying to throw the door shut, but he's still not got it sorted. Back to the inside then for Tommy Erskard. But Umeshima's got turn number 3 and turn number 4 in his favour. And he has that in his favour. Can Erskard pick the pocket though off of the exit towards 5 and 6? He's got a good run through 5, but he's not close enough to send one at turn number 6. Good defense from Umeshima, the samurai sword of the field, and he was slicing and dicing to make sure that he held the position.
If you play the percentages, you want the inside line in the braking zone at turn 1 if you're in a side-by-side battle. And there you go, plenty of grip there. You'll have plenty of grip around the outside of turn 1, and then you'll have the inside line into turn 3 later on, which is what you need into turn 4, and then you'll end up forming up in the straight line and you'll be ahead. So Umeshima logically makes the right decision, executes it well, and finds himself ahead still of Tommy Erskard.
Josh Rogers down the inside of Jamie Fluke, and Fluke loses another position then, and that's not going to be ideal for what he wants. 109.3 that last time by. Another 1.3 seconds locked off there by Rogers. And just like that, he makes the move. Now, here's the next worry for Martin Kroenke, though, in the number 5. He's coming up on Ilkka Harpala, who's running 109.5s. But more crucially than that, Balázs Remeník for Vortex is 1 lap down, who will have to let go and let through a certain Martin Kroenke. Blue flags, and of course Ilkka Harpala there as well. It's worth noting as well, blue flags only advisory for this year and not mandatory.
Yeah, exactly, which I don't like. If you're too slow, just get off the racetrack or something. You shouldn't even be racing, to be honest with you. So let's see if Remeník right here should get out of the way. Remeník's a very smart driver. He's very experienced. He knows what he's doing. Ilkka Harpala too. Now these two are identical lap times, but they're 1 lap. Harpala's 1 lap ahead of the other. Remeník, smart stuff. See, I know it's advisory with the blue flags, but just get out of the way. And that is, kids, that's how you do it. Listen to Balázs Remeník and watch how to get out of the way for a quicker driver.
Yes, certainly he will get out of the way. Now Kroenke's got to think about, okay, Ilkka Harpala, someone who has already been involved in a very scary incident with Antoine Higgeland, and I wonder if there will be any word into the Coanda earpiece of Martin Kroenke. Okay, Ilkka Harpala's made contact with another driver so far in this race. Proceed with extra caution. He has the gap to take his time if he wants to, but of course, got that big slingshot effect coming through the final corner. You can see how Kroenke takes a completely different line, picks up the power a lot earlier than what Ilkka Harpala is capable of doing, and Harpala under pressure. Kroenke trying to pick a lane. He'll have to pick the high side, and that's not going to be helpful, but he will be able to pick the run up off the exit. You can see Harpala's going defensive as down on pit road comes your race leader, Peter Berryman. Gives the race lead to Kevin Ellis Jr., but more crucially than that, Kroenke up into second position, and it was never ever going to be a fight.
Yeah, Kroenke should know better than that. Don't go to the outside of the banked oval. Just back off the throttle and stay behind him. The car will be easy to drive. You're not full throttle, and just make the pass on the straight. So good pass there in the end from Martin Kroenke. Peter Berryman, though, made his pit stop. And good one-stop strategy from them. So how far now is he? Looking at the deltas, little update at the end of the first sector, but Berryman now in 10th position. I don't know if this one-stop's going to work now, Jake. I think Apex were optimistic about it. There's 3 of their drivers on the one-stop. Fluke also in the pit lane. Very long pit stop for him for sure. And yeah, it just looks like slowly and slowly as this race progresses, I don't think this one-stop is viable.
Well, it may not be viable, but it's something that they certainly cannot switch on to the 2-stop very, very easily unless they go for 2 banzai stints on the new tyres. But Peter Berryman currently in 10th position. He's got to get past Jensen, Piatella and Rogers, I would feel here, Johnny, before they come in and make their stops, because he knows that he will be at least a second slower each time. Kevin Ellis Jr., though, on to pit road. He does love himself a good oval race from time to time. It is worth saying that about Kevin Ellis Jr., so maybe Indianapolis would have been somewhere where he could work well, but of course he is going to drop backwards down the order. But on that one stop, we've seen him make some very, very good one-stop calls before. As also down in is Ilkka Harpala to make his stop, which gives Kroenke the lead back again.
Yeah, so Ellis Jr. will feed out here behind Peter Berryman and Higgeland with some clear track, which is important. And we spoke about the visibility entering your box. Did you see the pit stop earlier on between Backham and de Jong? Backham, who qualified in second, gets the second pit stall, as we see side-by-side action here between the Orion race team driver there of Dion Burgess. Oh, not Dion Burgess, sorry, Ilkka Harpala, who now is trying to make his way past Iwashima, and he does exactly that. Iwashima under attack from Michael Partington, a man we haven't spoken about much today, but we saw Backham anyway, Jake. I was talking about trying to enter his stall, but de Jong in front of him had the third stall. So it's so difficult to get your brake markers right. And I just have to commend Mac Backham on an incredible braking zone into his pit stall.
Yeah, Mac Backham certainly did wonders when it came to trying to hit his marks and get himself on the box. And, well, he's still holding that defensive drive very well against Gregor Hutu, who's been there, but not really close enough to make anything happen. Let's take you RaceSpotTV fan immersion on board with the number 66 of Gregor Hutu. He wants to get past Mac Backham. He can't find a way past Mac Backham as we're just about to hit the halfway stage here in this event. interesting there from the perspective of Gregor Hutu, because he's not really closing down. He did a 108 flat that last time by, compared to Matt Backham's 107.9. It's almost exactly the same as the end of the first stint, Johnny, because they're both catching Mitchell de Jong. And really, it's the fact that Backham's got the DRS on de Jong that's hurting Gregor Hutu the most.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. He definitely, remember we said he pitted a lap later than these two, so definitely got fresh rubber. And that's for the entirety of the stint. Yeah, unless Hutu does something ridiculous and pushes too hard into a corner like this unnecessarily, but with a dirty air difference, yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you can't unwind the front wing or add a few degrees to it or something. There's just nothing you can do because the car will just behave even worse. You just have to stick with your setup and deal with dirty air. I've tried putting in an extra 8 degrees of front wing at the front, and then you'll end up just spinning out anyway. So there's no point. You just got to deal with it and just try and compensate for it in different ways.
Well, you always look to try and find that way you can compensate, and sometimes you look to everything you possibly can to get yourself moving forward. We have seen Peter Berryman make his way past Marcus Jensen. That one was plain sailing, as Berryman, on those fresh new tyres, has been looking to push further and further forward in this event. Worth talking about this battle as well, because Stephen Michael still struggling to get past Paul Ilbrink, and behind that you've got Jamie Fluke trying to get past Ricardo Orozco once again. And for the moment, Jamie Fluke close, but certainly not close enough on the brakes into turn 1, but he's going to try it anyway. He's come back from a mile away. You need the Hubble telescope to try and spot that move. Orozco was dead in the water.
Yeah, oh my God. From a long way back, wasn't he, Jake? Replay on screen.
He was at least 7 car lengths back.
Yeah, and he also edged ahead by a car length at the apex too. It was that well played by Jamie Fluke. You do have to count a lot. Actually, no, you don't. In that situation, Fluke didn't even have to count on the driver in front of him. He just went straight past Orozco. Good move.
He absolutely flew by, and that much we can say is a great move from Jamie Fluke, as this race now hits lap 40 of 73 behind the 2-time reigning champion, the German Martin Kroenke. Just the one retirement so far today being the 07 of Davy Dekorps. But Mitchell de Jong now under more and more pressure from Mac Backham on the brakes into turn number 8. Look at them, nose to tail, as close as Formula 1 cars go through corners, some may argue, as they now look to get a power down, but Backham loses the rear end here, and he's got to be careful about that. Not only is he lighting up those rear tyres, he's giving Gregor Hutu a hope of opportunity to go, you know what, I can send this down the inside, and I can get this position back.
Hutu's got a chance here. We're right on board with him. Very quick on the main straight. DRS open now. There's the zone, but look at Backham. He's just got too much straight line speed. Mac Backham, the quickest out of the top 4 in a straight line. And that's perfect for defending, but just cannot get past his own teammate, Mitchell de Jong. And I think the dirty air comes into play with that, Jake, as well, with the twitch and everything. And partly you get a bit of excitement in the driver's eyes. They start to light up. You start to see them move, prospecting ahead. You start to push a little bit too much, and again, you just butcher the opportunity.
And all 3 of them there were saving ERS down that front stretch. None of them were in a position to make that move, and I find that very, very telling by the way that they were looking to go through. Paul Ilbrink, though, it's a bit of a train here, as Jamie Fluke then easily dispatches of Stephen Michaels as they look to get onto the brakes into turn number 1. And Fluke may be thinking about, okay, I can get Ilbrink next, and after Ilbrink is Mogar Filio, who's only gone backwards so far in this event. Really, Jamie Fluke making those charges forward as we've expected him to do. Fluke right now looking for a way past Ilbrink. Good run here through turn number 5, Johnny, but really just, you can see how much Ilbrink is actually defending here. He wants to fight. He wants to prove that he's worth it racing in this series.
Yeah, Paul Trulli right now instead of Paul Ilbrink. He's got that train going, isn't he? Not as big as Jarno Trulli, but it's there. Fluke, DRS open. This is an overtaking spot. Just don't even try. Just form up. And I don't even like the little peaks that you do through there. I don't really think it's going to affect the driver in front. Just stay behind, stay as close as you can through this corner. Perfect by Jamie Fluke. Now remember, he is on a 1-stop, so he's got fresher rubber compared to all these drivers. It's going to hamper him towards the end of the race. Onto the banking of the oval, which is so difficult. Ilbrink, for some reason, takes a wider line. Should just be defending the inside. now alongside the main straight. Fluke opens DRS and should make his way past.
Well, he's going to have to do it late on the brakes, and he does brake later down on the inside, and that is a pretty good move. And just behind that, Orozco was trying to get past former teammate Stephen Michaels and was unable to do so there. So not really ideal as we are looking towards the second round of stops, maybe in the next 3 to 4 laps time, maybe even 5 or 6 laps time. So we're hitting that final third of a stint here, Johnny. This is where we talk about Gregor Hutu being the best. But if you've got 2 vehicles in front of you in dirty air, doesn't matter how good you are on the final third of a stint, you've got to make moves.
Well, Hutu now through the first sector, now into the middle sector. It's just, he pitted a lap later, it didn't work, so he's tried that. He's got to do something different. Does he come in now? The pit window is lap 48, around that mark. You go -2 on the target. You go +2. You go even longer. Right now, if Hutu pitted 3-4 laps later than these two, probably reel them in anyway and have fresh rubber. Why not? Okay, or maybe pit 2-3 laps earlier and undercut them, so you never know.
You never do know. Marcus Jensen under pressure. Here's Antoine Higeland tucked up 1/10.5 away. Really close, looking for the inside at turn number 8, but not brave enough to make that move. He thought about going to the inside, but Jensen hadn't covered every single stage of the way. So a good work there on the defense from Jensen, and that may have just compromised the run slightly for Higeland. Just in front of that, Peter Behrman has been stuck for the last 2 laps behind Marty Piatella, who's on the very aggressive 2-stop strategy, and you can see Berryman just washing out a little bit through the final corner, desperately trying to close that gap in. Both of them heavy on the ERS. Now it's finally a chance to make a move for Berryman on the brakes. He goes in far too deep, and there's the cutback opportunity. Marty Piatella goaded him into that move. Great driving from Piatella, terrible driving from Berryman.
But it's very difficult for Berryman to spot your brake marker, because if he uses a brake marker to the left-hand side of the racetrack there against the wall, it's so hard to see on the inside. That's somewhere where you need to have a backup brake marker towards the right-hand side, and I don't think Berryman had that, or otherwise he just lost a bit of concentration. You see here, you're looking to the left for your brake marker. Piatella blocks it. Berryman doesn't know where the braking point is and runs it deep. So that's just a common error you'll see drivers make up the inside, and that's where during practice you need to pick a brake marker on the left-hand and right-hand side of the circuit.
Daniel Bieder comes in and makes his second stop of the afternoon. Mitchell de Jong under pressure though. Here is Mac Attack. Mac Backham starts to think about making this move. He's close on the brakes, but is not close enough to send one down to the inside as Kazuki Umeshima leaves pit road after making his second stop then of the day. And Mac Backham, he's certainly quicker here, Johnny. He certainly has the pace to get past Mitchell de Jong. I wonder if there's something there between Backham and de Jong where Backham does not want to get involved with the championship leader at this stage.
I don't care. I mean, Backham's could still win this championship. It's very slim, his chances, but he's still there. De Jong, plenty of rear traction available. Ironic compared to the first stint where he seemed to drop off the pace as the stint progressed. De Jong's handled the stint a slight bit better, but again, this is the stage about 4 or 5 laps before his pit stop where De Jong starts to drop off in terms of pace. Happens again. Deep on the brakes, Mac Backham through turn 11. That's something you see. Amateur sim racers who come into sim racing for the first time tend to lose pace a lot in braking zones. So always improve your braking if you're new to sim racing watching this race. Backham now, DRS zone right here. No DRS for de Jong.
Down to the inside looking, and he's not got the overlap, and he thought about it, and he's getting heavy in the mirrors now, Johnny. Looking for that move. He's starting to probe de Jong for information. Where are you weak? Can I make these moves? The answer is, I want to make these moves, but crucially, I'm not going to sling it in when I've got no overlap. I'm going to do it clean and fair because you're my teammate.
Yeah, that's true. Gregor now has to think about this. I mean, 1 minute 7. If he pits, Gregor should be in the 1 minute 6s, possibly. So right now, Gregor is lapping in the 1 minute 8.3s. If he pits, and he has to do the opposite right now to what these Commander Simsport drivers do, he could find himself ahead. He will struggle for the entirety of the final stint, but it's an option he needs to be thinking about. It's an option Redline needs to be thinking about.
Certainly is.
Doesn't elect to pit.
No, nobody elects to pit then of the front 4, and Well, we are starting to see now it's going to be a case of when do you blink, and for Gregor Hutu, you feel the moment he blinks, everyone else around him decides to go. If he decides to wait later, he's got to go even better on a strategy that worked for him at Watkins Glen, but did not work for him at other tracks throughout the year. He has got to make this one work for him, as Marty Piatella right now under pressure on the brakes from Ricardo Orozco, who makes his way through. He's one lap down on the fresh rubber. So Marty Piatella now being lapped by quicker vehicles, and now Antoine Higeland trying to get in on the mix. Worth noting as well, Berryman has checked out from Marty Piatella a good 3 seconds already.
Yeah, that's certainly in play right there. There he is on screen, Peter Berryman into the middle part of the lap. I was looking at Hutu before. It's just such a tight battle between those three at the moment. They head through turn 11. And Hutu just doesn't have the middle of the corner diff set up as much as I hoped he would. It's the middle and the exit of the corner where Hutu seems to struggle. And I think that might be a differential setup part of the car, because Backham, his diff is just so loose and wide open through the middle part of a turn. Exiting the pit lane, there's a car right in front of them that's going to get in the way, and that is the driver of Tommy Erskard. He has to get out of the way. He doesn't want to hamper his teammates. That could have played to Gregor Hutu's hands, but luckily, no incident there.
No incident at all, and Tommy Erskard very, very clever, getting to the outside of turn number 3, making sure that he's keeping himself out of trouble. Now here's the next worry, because Erskard's going to be quicker than all of these, and he's going to be thinking about how does he get himself through. Look at him, he's actually angling here to try and get back past Gregor Hutu, and that would be a disaster for Hutu if Erskard goes through, because that's another vehicle in between him and Mac Backham, and also Mitchell de Jong as well. Kroenke currently looking at this one, thinking, okay, I think I just need to go into conservation mode the same way I did for 12 races last year. But now this comes down to who blinks, and I wonder who blinks. De Jong blinks. Hutu's going to, oh, he feigned it. He thought about it. He was caught in two minds. So De Jong is in. Mac Backham is not, and now Mac Backham's got no DRS to help him. Gregor Hutu's got to charge, and he's thinking about it. To the outside, he goes to make the move. Gregor Hutu fighting Mac Backham every inch of the way on the curb through turn number 2. Backham gives him the room and holds the position. Now De Jong's in the wheelhouse.
This is perfect right now. Look at Tommy Erskard. Will he unlap himself? He backs out of the battle for the moment, does the right thing, but Hutu almost had the move done and played to perfection there. Do the opposite to these Coanda SimSport drivers. That 2-stop window is open for the final stop of the race. DRS here through the middle sector. I don't think that's going to affect Hutu as much. Mitchell de Jong out of the pit lane here. We see Gregor Hutu back again. Every single car has DRS here through the middle part of the lap. Who will pit this time round again? If you do the opposite the last time round, you've got to do it again for sure.
You certainly have to, and Gregor Hutu knows that. Remember, Erskard's battling behind Partington and Umashima on track, on position, in their own little world, and both of them thought about it. Hutu does the opposite. This is allowing Tommy Erskard a chance to unlap himself here, and that might not be a bad idea for Gregor Hutu. Let Erskard go. He's quicker, and I don't think he will here. Erskard's just going to sit and back out of it, but he's being a nuisance for Hutu. Now the next question becomes, where does Mac Backham come out in all of this? Where is Mitchell de Jong in comparison? The answer is heading through turn number 11, right about now into turn number 12. So de Jong charging his way towards turn 13 and turn number 1. Backham late towards his box, looking to hit his marks, and he hits them perfectly. Up and down on the tyres, and out and away he goes. A good 4-second stop there by him. Here comes Mitchell de Jong. He's already gone and passed him. Not only has he gone and passed him, he's passed him by a good 3 seconds. De Jong has breathing room.
Yeah, I mean, that Backham lost about half a second to a second with Hutu and the battle. And de Jong had about 2 seconds as Kroenke enters the pit lane. Is about 2 seconds extra for Backham as well, or for de Jong, sorry, in terms of tyre. So now Kroenke comes in. Hutu cannot come in. He's coming in. I like this idea. You come in later than them, you do the opposite, but why not stretch it out an extra couple of laps? We'll see if you prove me wrong, but right now, I don't think this tyre advantage by coming in now is enough to get past the two teammates. But look at it this way, Jake. 3-second difference now between Backham and de Jong, and that could help Gregor Hutu make his way past one by one instead of both of them.
Exactly, he's wanted to fight mano a mano, and he's not had that in this race, and he wants that out of a certain Mac Backham. Kroenke then out and away, and crucially behind Kevin Ellis Jr. and behind Peter Berryman. So Berryman now is trying to run for the border, shall we say, in this situation. I'm not sure he'll be able to hold on for the win, but my goodness, will he try. Hutu comes out and fair ways behind Mac Backham as well. That's also a good 2-3 seconds that he's lost. So Gregor Hutu really struggling then in his final stage. Out of pit road comes Antoine Higeland then for his final stop, and he should be behind Dion Verges, and he is. So right now it's Kroenke, you got Hutu there in fourth with De Jong and also a certain Mac Backham, but don't count out Peter Berryman here. He's got himself a pretty nice gap over Martin Kroenke, it has to be said.
He does, and on that one stop, who knows? Will he win this race? Peter Berryman's had a chance. He had Imola, didn't he? And then what was the race after that again? We had Zandvoort. Berryman could have potentially won that race, who knows? But Berryman has the pace. He has race-winning pace. He had the penalty, didn't he, with Zandvoort, entering the pit lane. He definitely has pace at the moment, so we don't know what's going to happen from here on in. By the way, reporting as well, Stephen Michaels, we're wondering why he's so slow on the straights. Definitely a lot of damage, remember, on lap 1. So that was why we saw Stephen Michaels about 40 kilometers an hour slower than the rest of the field through the straight. So sorry to Stephen Michaels, we thought that was a setup issue or something else. Lots of damage to that race Dutch car in his first race. Track map, we're watching the difference between Berryman and Kroenke. Remember, Berryman is not going to pit for the rest of this event.
That's very crucial, and he's got himself 20 laps to hold on as he heads his way through turn number 11. Kroenke now heading himself through 9 and now into 10. 3 vehicles in the way. One of them is second place Kevin Ellis Jr., who he needs to get past, and Kevin Ellis Jr. has been very gentlemanly so far this year when vehicles have been quicker. He just wants to run his own race. He doesn't want to play the defensive game for other drivers. The gap was about 10 seconds last time by for Martin Kroenke in terms of gap. This time by, that gap of 10.1 comes down to 9 seconds exactly. So it's a 2.1 a lap that he's closing. And I think with 10 to go, Peter Berryman is going to be caught. The question becomes, though, can he hold on to second? Because Mitchell de Jong is 9 seconds back of Martin Kroenke running similar lap times. I'm not sure de Jong can get past Berryman here in the time allotted here.
Who knows? We'll wait and see. And remember that he might also spend a bit of time possibly battling away with Gregor Hutu, possibly with Mac Backham. The more they squabble, the more it plays into the hands of the young Apex Racing duo of Peter Berryman and Kevin Ellis Jr. I have to say, Kevin Ellis Jr., it's just remarkable to see him in the top 2 in the closing stages of a WCS race. It's so, like, the improvement this guy has made, that the Scott has just been, you just can't believe it. It's like breathtaking. It sounds like I'm falling in love with him, by the way. I'm not saying that, but he's definitely improved. Just a role model for all the other young sim racers out there. Just give yourself a couple of years of commitment, and you'll end up like Kevin Ellis Jr., possibly race winner, possibly world champion sometime in the future from Scotland.
I'd say something even more impressive.
If it's less in love than what I said, then go ahead.
Josh Rogers is only 3 seconds behind Gregor Hutu.
Is he on a 2-stop right now? Yeah, he is.
He's on a 2-stop. He's made the second stop. That's great from Josh Rogers. He's worked hard on this second stint.
He has, but remember, Josh Rogers is going to get worse as the stint progresses. And yeah, low fuel might help in Josh Rogers' hands. Wear out the tyres a little bit less, but I just know Josh Rogers with the tyres and this McLaren, that's where they struggle the most, is just figuring out the tyres.
Here comes Kroenke down to the inside of Kevin Ellis Jr., and that's a gift, and that Kevin Ellis Jr. did not want anything to do with Martin Kroenke into that corner, and that was as easy as you will find a move for Martin Kroenke. Peter Berryman, you've got no help from your teammates. You've got to do this one on your own.
Can we just take a moment of silence? Did we just see an overtake into turn 8?
Yes,
oh my God. As number 1 for the race. And it had to be, you see, the only time you can make a move there is if you're on completely different strategies. Ellis Jr. 1-stop, Kroenke on the 2-stop. I think he's definitely got this race win in his hands, Martin Kroenke, unless things go wrong. This is a simple move, such a tight corner. You don't want to touch the curb there on the inside. Sometimes you can send the car out onto the grass in the runoff. 19 to go, left-hand side of your screen, top left specifically. And Kroenke, one hand on the trophy so far, you have to say.
One hand on that trophy, but it's not guaranteed. He's got to find a way past Peter Berryman. And we've seen how good Peter Berryman has been on the defense. He has held off Martin Kroenke before. Watkins Glen certainly comes into mind in terms of how good Peter Berryman has evolved as a driver. And as that driver who was maybe in 2017 showing glimpses with a pole position at Monza, showing glimpses of what he's capable of. 2018 has been, okay, this isn't a glimpse, this is, I can challenge near the top of the field, I can go out there and put some really solid results in. Peter Berryman has improved massively in 2018, and I can only feel like this is going to get better and better as the years go on. I think Berryman is turning into a title contender for next year.
Possibly. We know there's rumors he may miss the final round this season, and that's where a lot of drivers get their career best results, because there's so many people missing. Drivers in the championship hunt tend to choke. Would have been good to see Peter Berryman out there. That's just a rumor for now. He may have a few commitments up his sleeve, but certainly will improve day after day. He's got this McLaren figured out. Someone I raced against a few years ago in a couple of races actually was involved in an incident with him. Completely my fault. And from then on in, I could tell he was a hungry driver just based on the responses I was getting from him. And he's right now P1, looking good. Don't think he's going to win this race. Too many laps to go, not enough time to stay in front. But certainly good idea by Apex to at least try the one stop. Something that a lot of teams didn't have the guts to do so.
Yeah, that's very, very true. It's been mainline two-stop strategies. Gregor Hutu, though, closed 4/10 of a second down on Matt Backham that last time by. He brought the gap down to just 1.3 seconds, and he wants to get it within a second so he can activate DRS and have an opportunity to attack. That last time by, 107.3 for Gregor Hutu. Better from Backham, 107.4, but another 10th of a second, maybe 300ths, getting locked off that last time. Hutu is coming for Matt Backham, and he's got to be worried here because de Jong's just got past Ilka Harpala. That one was also for position there. That was for for fourth position, sorry. And Ilka Harpala for the moment. Backham and Hutu have got to find a way past.
Certainly do. Ilka Harpala, race winner in this series, don't forget. He's a driver who has 2 race wins to his name all the way back in 2010. He hasn't missed a season of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. There's the championship standings to the left-hand side of your screen. Not updated. That is not a live standings. That was pre-race standings right there. It looks like Kroenke will lead the championship heading out of this round. But the top 4 are top 4 in this race as well. We spoke about Berryman, Jake, as well. 5th in the standings. Very quick. But look at those Apex drivers. Atlas Jr. and Fluke. I spoke about Apex just being so impressive. Second best team this season.
Easily the second best team, so consistent as well with all of their points. They always have some very, very strong runs, although Jamie Fluke's run today is only going to go backwards from here by Antoine Higeland's hand in the next few laps or so. But right now, Peter Berryman is staring down the barrel of Martin Kroenke's gun, and right now that gap's coming down second to lap. The gap was down last time across the line to 4.1 seconds. So by lap 62, I think that he's going to be caught, and that for Peter Berryman is going to be the bells tolling. Martin Kroenke is approaching.
Yeah, this would be a simple pass for the lead, surely. You don't want to butcher this if you're Martin Kroenke. Berryman, I just don't understand how he is managing getting onto the banked oval so seamlessly right now. There he is right alongside the wall. Up to about 330 kilometers an hour at this stage of the race, depending on where you are. We're at with ERS and fuel. There's Kroenke through turn number 1 and 2. 3 seconds the gap now. I mean, he's a sitting duck.
He is. Here's Gregor Hutu, though, down to the inside of his Finnish compatriot, Ilka Harpala, and he makes the move comfortably into turn number 1. No issues for the 5-time world champion in Team Red Line Blue at this stage. So good move from Hutu, and crucially, he keeps that gap very, very close to Matt Backham, down to just 1.2 seconds at this stage, and he had the DRS to work with as well. That much we can say is quite vital In terms of battles elsewhere down the field, they are a little bit more stringent, it has to be said. We haven't seen too many. You've got Stephen Michaels a long way down the order, the likes, of course, as well as Daniel Bieder and Balázs Reminick, who have both lost a few positions so far in this event. But for Kroenke right now, it's just a case of just pick it off lap after lap after lap. But Berryman has been so good. Another 108.3, very consistent from Berryman. But that gap, 2.1 seconds. 2 laps away then from Kroenke, getting himself close. Probably 2 laps away from DRS as well here, Johnny.
Certainly is. Getting closer and closer towards the final stages. 14 to go. All important points. If you need a motivated driver with 14 laps to go, you probably don't have the right driver right now. Everybody's active, ready to go. 73 laps. It's a long event, Grand Prix racing. 90 minutes on average. When it comes to these final laps, you're all in it. Sweat dripping off the head sometimes. It's the summer over in Europe. Sim racing can be a physical challenge as well. And the mental strength as well heats up the body temperature. It makes it more difficult as the race progresses. This is what these drivers are feeling right now. Some of them, the adrenaline's pumping. They don't feel any of that. They just feel the steering wheel. They see the car ahead. They're doing everything they can. Harpala half spin, by the way, off camera. Here we ride on board with Martin Kroenke. He gets past that Ricardo Orozco, getting out of the way there. But Harpala through the middle sector lost a little bit of time as well, and luckily he's still struggling with tires.
He is, and well, a little half spin, a slide through turn number 8 as he desperately tried to keep the vehicle going straight, and he's done one stops before and struggled, but he's done well to keep that one, all 4 tyres on the road. A tough lap for Martin Kroenke, but still brings the gap down to 1.3 seconds, and through every corner you can see him inching that gap down, just 10th by 10th, foot by foot. You can see how Peter Berryman is being reeled in on a line right now. The move won't happen surely into turn number 1, but look at how Kroenke is now there, Johnny.
Too easy now for Kroenke. He's got to make the move. Just second behind. Should have DRS this time around. Look at the traction out of turn 11. This is too easy. Will Berryman manage the rejoin onto the oval? Does quite well, actually, Peter Berryman. He's certainly mastered that. But through the main straight, Kroenke for the lead. This should be an easy pass.
This should be DRS open, ERS engaged, down to the inside and gifted by Peter Berryman. Martin Kroenke leads the race once more with just 12 laps to go at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And if things stay like this, Kroenke becomes the first 2-time winner this season. He'll pick his 4th win of the season up, and he will take a vital momentum shift heading to the last 4 rounds of the championship. And there's not much more you can say about that, but look at Gregor Hutu right now. 9/10 of a second the gap here to Mac Backham, and crucially they are both closing on both De Jong and Kevin Ellis Jr. They're all on the same piece of real estate. De Jong needs to get past as quickly as he can.
So here's the story to win the race. We know Kroenke is most likely going to win this unless he bins it like Monza, which probably won't happen. Berryman has a shot at P2, depending on how these 3 behind fare. They've just lapped a few cars. De Jong's made his way past Kevin Ellis Jr. there for P3. Ellis Jr. could hamper Backham and Hutu, and they have the lap car ahead here of Stephen Michaels with Damage, who's slow. So Berryman, 10 seconds with 12 laps to go. They could meet on the final lap of the race for P2.
They certainly could, and Kevin Ellis Jr. is letting vehicles go left and right as Michaels almost clips the wall and moves to the inside, maybe worrying Hutu slightly as he didn't hold his line, but Michaels gracious, letting him through. That's compromised him slightly here, and Mac Backham's maybe going to get an easy pass here on Kevin Ellis Jr., who knows he's slower, and in fact he was on the grass through turn number 2 and then through 3, so he lets one go. Now Hutu's got to pick the pocket down the inside. Big wiggle of traction there from Kevin Ellis Jr., and through goes Gregor Hutu. Ellis Jr. is playing the conservative game, and I wonder, Johnny, yes, it's nice to let everyone through, but is this where you argue, does Kevin Ellis Jr. have the bite? The answer is, does he have the tyres at the moment? The answer is hell no.
No, he's struggling. And look, you just got to be selfish in that situation. He's battling for track position. Just don't even let the guys through. Just stay on the racing line, manage the tyres. One half spin, it's just going to get exponentially worse. And he's still struggling off camera, off the replay. But here's the replay on board. Ellis Jr. now doing the nice thing. He's offline. You can see there's no rubber there. He rejoins. Tires now. There we go. Just a different line, different atmosphere. Just not something you're used to. Different speed through turn 4 and 5. And it just costs him a bit of pace. And then after that, he'll just have half spins for the rest of the lap, just trying to get the tires back up to ideal temperature. So he was being nice as well. Maybe also, Jake, you have to think, he's also trying to fight here with Ilkka Haapala and Josh Rogers to stay in front for P7 and 8. He doesn't want to lose any time battling with these drivers, but he's just let them pass, which is a different story.
And on cue, Josh Rogers has made his way through on Ilkka Haapala, that one for 7th position. So next up on the hit list will be Kevin Ellis Jr., 7 seconds down the road. But Josh Rogers, it's also worth remembering, he is on older tyres when it is in comparison to the likes of Hutu and co, because he pitted very early for his second stint. Yes, the fuel's lower so that there is less tyre wear on this final stint, but there is still a significant amount, Johnny, which will be hurting Rogers in this final stint.
Certainly will. And Rogers, as we said, not quick in the final stint of the event. So right now, based on lap times, 1 minute 8.1 for Rogers last time round. Ellis Jr.'s last respectable lap, 1 minute 9.3. It looks like he'll probably reel in Ellis Jr. before the end of the race. So Ellis Jr. looking at a P8 result at this stage.
And look at Gregor Hutu gap down to just 0.6 of a second. And now it's looking more and more for the world like Matt Backham is looking behind in his mirrors than he is in front. He's 2 seconds back to Mitchell de Jong and lost 0.4 of a second on that last lap. Part of that dealing with Paul Ilbrink and trying to find a way past the Radicals online driver. But for Gregor Hutu, it's just a case of score a podium. If you can't get points ahead of your rivals, Johnny, it's what Gregor Hutu has done so well throughout his career. Damage limitation.
This is just such a frustrating race. I just can't explain how frustrating this is. It's just like a dissatisfying feeling. That's the best way to explain it. You couldn't get past 2 drivers you were quicker than all race, and you're going to finish behind them. You leave the cockpit just feeling abysmal, and you just like it's not even a feeling of hunger to want to test more. It's just a feeling of I just want to go to sleep and wake up tomorrow and get ready for the next race. Like you're just over it. So it's just so frustrating. The best feeling now is actually getting past them towards the end of the event. And who knows if he was quicker than Kroenke or not.
That's very much the question that needs to be asked about Gregor Hutu here. Why wasn't he able to get past those 2 drivers? And what can he do for the future, especially with the last 4 rounds of the season coming up very, very quickly? And for Gregor Hutu, maybe some can argue that he is getting past his prime in years, that maybe this would be the gunslinger's last hurrah at a championship, but Gregor Hutu knows he doesn't want to be put on the shelf just yet. He wants to show the world that he is still one of the most formidable racers in the world, and he is doing so yet again here today in position number 5. Gap is 8 seconds at the moment between Berryman and de Jong. For Berryman, a 108.4, and for Mitchell de Jong crossing the line as well. We'll keep an eye on this one, Johnny, because he does himself another 107.7. That gap's coming down 0.7 of a second every lap. That is going to be close right now with 7 laps to go, but I think de Jong's running out of time.
Yeah, I think de Jong's running out of time, and he's not as quick as we expected. Berryman should have P2 locked down, and that just says that the ideal strategy for Apex with a one-stop worked to perfection for Peter Berryman. He was quick, he had the pace to do it, and he didn't have to fight on track with those top 3. Just outbrained these guys, basically, with the one-stop. And it's not just outbrain, but it has to work as a driver. Can you, as Gregor Hutu or de Jong or Backham, actually manage to keep that car on the racetrack in a one-stop? So difficult.
It is so very, very difficult. Hutu, though, looking very close to the rear of Matt Backham. Needs to find a mistake, and very heavy over the curb through turn number 9. Once again, is Backham using all of the curb through turn number 10. And again, Hutu struggling through 11. That dirty air effect, that aerodynamic buffer that you see hurting Hutu as he now heads himself onto the oval. 6 laps to go as he crosses the line, and he knows that he is running out of time to go and make this move. 107.8. And you can see it's only 9 kilometers an hour of an advantage. He needs to be within about 0.3 of a second here, Johnny, if he wants a shot at this. He's half a second back when he crossed the line. He needs a little bit more.
I just don't even blame Hutu. Turn 11 is such a useless corner. You just can't do anything about it. You steer into the right-hander. All the dirty air is just affecting you. I just think Hutu is doing all he can. This isn't a lack of skill. This isn't a lack of racecraft. This is just limited in the situation that he's in. He should have tried what I thought, which was just go 5 laps longer and struggle with bad tires. You're going to catch these guys anyway. You're quicker than them. And just do that and see if it works. You know, you're not going to pass him on the same strategy. He's still got a few more laps to prove me wrong, but this is this right-hander here that is just useless, so difficult to steer into. Backham now, visually you can see the advantage he has through there with no dirty air. It's just impossible to pass.
You have to feel for Gregor Hutu. He needs maybe a bit of a miracle on Mac, and it's not often that you ask of that. This isn't the Mac of Radicals Online where he'd be lightning fast, but maybe would find himself in a couple of issues here and there. He has tempered his driving style. He has improved with his consistency levels, and that's why he's had 2 race wins this year. That's why he is starting to become a true title challenger in terms of that respect. If he can just get a good season together. Keep an eye on this one as well, a little bit further back. Got Marty Piatella looking to get past a certain Ilkka Harpala. Big wiggle through turn number 3 for Marty, and Marty Piatella is a lucky boy to have a vehicle pointing straight.
Yeah, good stuff from Piatella. Harpala, we must say, is still on a one-stop. Oh, look at that, just on the curb and saves it. So just bad decision to get onto the curb late in the race. These drivers are pushing to the max. Of course, Harpala, as we said, on the one-stop. So Ellis Jr., that helps him. Ellis Jr. will probably finish this race in 7th, unless Rogers can actually get past. So those guys on the 2-stop, Jake, have actually gotten worse in terms of lap time over the stint. They've started to edge closer and closer to the 1-stop guys in terms of lap time and pace.
That just shows you how that pace is plateauing at the moment. For Berryman, it's a 109 flat. De Jong, 107.9, a second taken off in that last lap. 4 laps to go. The gap is 4.6 seconds. This needs De Jong to find some magic lap times, and he's got 2 more to deal with. Eyes on Piatella, though, down to the inside and making the move on Ilkka Harpala. That one was as easy as you like to see, but at the moment, it's a case of who do you look at right now? Some very nice battles coming towards the end. Gregor Hutu still desperate to find a way past Mac Backham, but starting to drop back a little bit, maybe looking for that one last push towards the end. Berryman for the moment is second, but my goodness, is De Jong trying to push.
Young's trying to push, Backham's trying to push, Hutu's trying to make his way past. Hutu's to the max right now. He's pushing to the limit, almost on the grass there through turn 11. There he is on screen in that blue and black Team Redline McLaren. Through the final corner goes Gregor Hutu. DRS flat will open right now. You see the black DRS boards. Hutu straight line speed increases, not even close. Out of all cars to be stuck behind, Mac Backham mastered the low downforce setup today. Plenty of straight line speed.
He certainly has done, and I have to say it has been a great drive from Mac Backham as Josh Rogers as well is closing down Kevin Ellis Jr. Another 0.8 of a second off, and only 2 vehicles in between, which is Michaels fighting it out with Paul Ilbrich. This one for 19th and 20th positions on the road, not where the pair of them wanted to be. Here's Michaels looking to the outside, and he's not going to quite make the move that he wants to here, and this is not going to be helpful when Rogers wants to come in on both of them. You have to respect it in this situation, Johnny. They are allowed to race each other, but when Josh Rogers wants to come through, I think they have to be respectful in that situation and realise that Rogers wants one more position.
And if you're smart enough, you can put the driver in front in a bad situation. Let Rogers through at a good part of the racetrack, and then let the other driver have to let Rogers through maybe this part of the sector or through the straights or something different. Michaels now struggled. Lap 1, had the damage. Car not easy to drive for this event. First race with race clutch. Rogers still reeling in these guys. I think Michael's going to have to let him through. Yeah, he is. Michaels is backing off. Open DRS.
And that's Umeshima at turn number 2, all over the gravel. He was battling with Ricardo Orozco into turn number 1. Big snap of oversteer, heading on the exit, too eager on the power. And Umeshima's tyres let go on him, and that's cost him a lot of times. He had to let through both De Jong, Hutu, and Backham in that situation, so not good at all. But for Martin Kroenke, it will be the white flag coming out at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It will be a white white flag that he has been waiting for all race long, and one white flag which he has been looking at again and again, hoping he will get it. If Berryman keeps this one on the island, this will be a fantastic drive for the number 69, because Mitchell de Jong is nowhere near him right now on the road. Mac Backham for now is safe from Gregor Hutu. This could be Hutu's last chance, but look at him. He's absolutely nowhere near in the situation, heading to the prime overtaking opportunity of turn number 1. Does he brake late? Yes, he does. Little bit of help of traffic as well, because Ricardo Orozco is there waiting in the mix as well. Here's Josh Rogers, though, looking to attack Kevin Ellis Jr. This one for 6th position, and not quite there, but he runs wide through turn number 1, and this is the chance that Josh Rogers has been looking for. Big wiggle on the exit there from Kevin Ellis Jr. That has to slow down Josh Rogers. Not ideal, not what he wanted, not one bit in that situation. Hutu still not close enough to Mac Backham. Mitchell de Jong absolutely nowhere in this situation in terms of where he needs to be. But for Martin Kroenke, he will become the first man this season to go back to back. And now the title picture looks all Kroenke again. Martin Kroenke wins at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a dominant, perfected drive. Peter Berryman with a great 2nd position, a drive befitting of his character. Mitchell de Jong will finish 3rd. Hutu was 1 lap too late to get past Mac Backham. He will finish in 5th with Backham in 4th. And crucially enough, Kevin Ellis Jr., I think, is just about safe from Josh Rogers as well. And for Martin Kroenke, you have to say that is the perfect drive, the perfect time in the season. He takes the championship lead, hammer blow.
And we're just watching Jensen on the final lap, who was very, very close there towards the end of being passed by Anton Higelin. Higelin, no, remains behind, but what a race from Martin Kroenke, back on top as championship leader for the first time since round 1. And Martin Kroenke, I have to say, just a dominant race, Jake. Did we forget that he was leading this race? Because the whole time we were focused on all his title rivals behind squabbling away, and they said, oh, wait a second, we've let this guy go and win the race all on his own. So brilliant result from him. And I have to say, commend Peter Berryman and the Apex Racing UK team. Just absolute perfection with strategy. The one-stop worked out really well. Ended up Kevin Ellis Jr. in 6th, the best result he could have hoped for on the one-stop. Peter Berryman 2nd, the best result he could have hoped for on the one-stop as well. Perfect.
And with just a 2-week gap to Suzuka, this is going to be a very interesting championship. Suzuka, the Nürburgring, Spa-Francorchamps, and the finale at Circuit of the Americas. Oh boy, this is going to be one that you need to keep your eye out on. Maybe not the race of drama and intrigue that we are used to seeing, but a race which will be very, very happy for those in the number 5's camp. Official classified results, then let's get them up on your screen for you. Victory number 4 of the season for Martin Kroenke as he takes an 11-second win over Peter Berryman, who mastered the one-stop and defied the odds to get himself another 2nd place position as he inches ever closer to his first win in the World Championships. Mitchell de Jong loses the championship lead with a 3rd place finish, struggling on tyres all day long, with Mac Backham holding off Gregor Hutu 4th and 5th. Kevin Ellis Jr. finishes in 6th on the one-stop, holding off Josh Rogers after a very spirited drive from the Australian to remain in 7th. Marty Piatella always loves gaining positions in 8th. Ilka Harpler on the one-stop in 9th, with Marcus Jensen there in 10th position, holding off Antoine Higeland, the Frenchman, in 11th. Jamie Fluke, a spin on the opening lap, drops him all the way back down to 12th when all was said and done. Tommy Erskard and Dion Verges, the last finishers on the leading lap. And then those one lap down, like some Michael Partington, Ricardo Orozco, Kazuki Umeshima, Mo Garfilio, Stephen Michaels, Paul Ilbrink, Daniel Bieder, and Balazs Remenick. The one retirement from this race was very early on. That was Orion's Davide Corps. But we'll talk post-race just after this.
I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, faster than a lightning flash, rushing through the cool night air. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero.
In 2017, one man did the impossible. He went every single round undefeated. A feat that you can never find in the real FIA World Championship. But here in iRacing, here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, a legend was made last year. A legend has been cemented at Indianapolis. Martin Kroenke with a fantastic race victory over Peter Berryman and, of course, Mitchell de Jong as well. We will be able to talk to those drivers in just a little bit, but Johnny, what a good race that was from Martin Kroenke. It was all that it needed to be. It was a traditional Martin Kroenke race. Break the draft early, break DRS, and slowly pull away from the rest of the field. It's agonizing to be as a driver, and it's just fantastic to see from a stats fan.
No, it's great. And to be honest with you, like, Kroenke is great when he qualifies well. Pole position for him. In 2016, he converted every pole to a race victory. So, again, we see Kroenke starting from first. Just brilliant result. Unscathed. Great start. Can't touch him after that.
No, you certainly can't. And, well, we've got driver interviews at the moment. First and foremost, though, we're going to give him no time to prepare for this one at all. We're going to bring in Martin Kroenke into the conversation. Martin, that one, I think, has to go down as one of your easier victories. 11 seconds, unchallenged for a move at any given stage. Would you call that a traditional Martin Kroenke race?
Well, it was actually a really good race. From myself, I think it was one of the races with the least mistakes overall in the last couple of years. So I'm pretty happy with how I drove. The only thing that was a little bit concerning is that Apex made a one-stopper work for some reason. I don't exactly know how that was possible, but okay.
Well, looking at the strategy, it was clear then from Coanda that a two-stop was the way to go. So seeing Peter Berryman about 9-10 seconds down the road heading into your final stint, you know, does that... I know they're not title challengers this season, but for next season, if you keep an eye on that, is that just going to be more warriors to be fighting against later on? And is that something that plays into your mind for the last 4 rounds of the championship when you're thinking about, okay, who do I need to beat when Peter Berryman could potentially take points away from you?
Well, for the rest of the season, it's not that much of a concern really, because if I look at the gap to Peter is quite significant, and if he ends up in front of me, that's unfortunate for me, but it's not the end of the world as long as I finish good in relative to the title contenders, that is. But it's surely worrying. They have been really, really quick, especially towards the middle and end of a stint in Zandvoort already, and now they made a one-stop work, which I thought was never going to be possible, and yet he finished P2, so they are a concern, for sure.
Well, they certainly are a concern, but you've got Suzuka coming up very, very soon, a track which has been traditionally very good ground for the likes of Apex. Of course, you've got your teammates as well who love the track as well. And of course, Redline traditionally do very, very well when it comes to Suzuka as well. How are you feeling about Japanese asphalt?
Pretty good, but I think the next race is actually Nürburgring, isn't it?
I don't know. I think they may have changed the calendar.
I think they did. Suzuka has been moved back, if I'm not mistaken. Nürburgring is next.
My bad. So, home race, how are you feeling?
Pretty good. Well, actually, based on last year's result, relatively good. Based on 2016 result, not that good. So we'll have to see. But races have been going relatively good lately. So looking forward to it.
Well, mixed bag it certainly will be. But before we let you go, Martin, a race victory, a shout out, a sponsor. Who gets it done?
Yeah, first of all, a huge thanks to my teammates, Mac and Mitchell and Marty, for this round. They did awesome work with the preparation this time around. Then also a huge thanks to our spotters who did the strategy calls, and to our sponsors, to Virtual Racing School, to Heusingveld, to Endwood Design, SimQuip, Joel Real Timing, and also thanks to you guys.
No worries at all. Martin Kroenke with his 4th race victory of the season. You can blame me on the calendar there. I got an old picture up. But Johnny, you're with the man who finished in 2nd place. It's the Berry man who can.
Yeah, Peter Berryman, career high result in P2 as well. The one-stop just played to perfection. So many teams just couldn't believe how you made that work, Peter. And you didn't seem to struggle as well with the tyres. It seemed to be easy from our point of view.
I guess that maybe looked easy from the outside. I can tell you I was sweating pretty hard. The car was, it was trying to kill me. At most corners, pretty much, the car was so on the edge. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly felt, I was quite surprised that the Coandas and the Redline car went for the 2-stop. I was kind of feeling confident that, maybe a win was possible. But yeah, when I seen Martin was, 9-10 seconds up the road, I was pretty, shocked by the pace he had, so I knew that was kind of out the window. But yeah, very, very tough to hang on to the car, but yeah, made it work, which is, obviously I'm pretty happy. P2 is an awesome result.
And talking about how you manage the tyres as well, low downforce, everything else, you seem to have a good start as well. Is that the reason why the one-stop worked? Was it just the start?
I think it worked out pretty well. I think T1, I got a really good run on the outside on the brakes and thought maybe I could go around the outside of everybody, but I heard it was 3 wide, and yeah, I pulled out of that, which I guess worked out in the end because the guys ahead were quite a bit quicker at the start of the stint. I think I sort of fell into a lovely wee bubble between the top 4 or 5 guys, or I think it was maybe top 4, and I think I had Rogers behind me, so yeah, I was quite lucky where I wasn't close enough to sort of hinder my race, but I was close enough to be in there, obviously, to make the one-stop work.
And who do you want to thank before we go here for a brilliant result for Apex Racing UK, who almost outsmarted a lot of the teams out there with the one-stop?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the guys, of course, the hard work that went in, a lot of prep over the 5 weeks or so for the break there. A lot of hard work went into the car, and with thought we'd made a big improvement, but obviously we need to take a look at what Martin did. I'd like to thank all the sponsors, Leo Bodner, JCL, SDK Gaming, Simputers, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
No worries. There you go, Jake. Peter Berryman, P2, career high best result for Peter Berryman. He had 5 third-place finishes before that. Finally etches one step closer to the top step of the podium, but still not there.
And you feel like it's going to be coming very, very soon, if not after that. Maybe even a challenge for a title as well. And talking of titles, Mitchell de Jong coming home in 3rd position. Mitchell, championship lead lost to Martin Kroenke. Your results over the course of all 3 championships are starting to dip a little bit. What's going wrong for you right now?
I don't think it's anything too serious. It's a long season for a lot of things, and Obviously, I've taken on a lot of different championships at the same year, so you know, for me, it's about managing and just doing the best I can with each time. You know, it's quite difficult trying to switch from, you know, Rallycross one week we need to drive completely different to F1, then back to GT3 and all that. But you know, just need to kind of pick your battles. This one was I'm pretty satisfied with this one, to be honest. I just can't get along with a car that's running pretty low downforce, like an F1 car like this. So you know, I wasn't too confident coming into this, so I was just hoping to have a solid race, not make any big mistakes, and see where we end up. And you know, the gap to Martin was quite big. He was just in a league of his own, but you know, being that close to getting second was much more than I could have hoped for today. So yeah, super happy with third, to be honest.
And let's talk about schedule as well very quickly, because you find yourself in a position where you're racing 3 championships. So you've got VRS GT, you've got the iRacing Rallycross Championship, and you've got, of course, the IWC GPS. But not only that, but legitimately just a week before you tackle Nürburgring, are you going to be out there at Sim Racing Expo?
Yes, I will, actually. So it's quite a chaotic, pretty much run of the season until October. Even when we get back in October, we have, I don't know, 4 WCS rounds in 4 weeks with some Rallycross races sprinkled in. So yeah, it's gonna be tight. So yeah, you just need to make the best of it. You know, taking on this much is a bit too much, I'll admit. But you never know what can happen. So it's cool to have this opportunity, and yeah, we'll make the best of it.
Very quickly, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Yeah, of course, all our teammates, especially Martin and Mac, who did a lot of the work for this one. And of course, Philip and Jorn and Klaus, who did a lot of the strategy work for this one. Appreciate them for keeping us updated, keeping us updated on the gap to catch Peter and all that. And all our other partners, Virtual Racing School, Huizingveld, SimQuip, VTech, Andworn Design, and Joe Real Timing. And of course, you guys, RaceSpot, for yeah, putting on the broadcast for us.
No worries at all. Mitchell de Jong coming home in 3rd position. The man who came home 4th, though, Johnny, is stood by with you. It's Mac Backham.
Mac Backham, what a race. He came home in 4th, and I have to say, Mac, was it a frustrating race for yourself, or was it just somewhere where you could have extracted more? The pass for Hutu in the first few laps was pretty good, but after that, you just couldn't get past your own teammate.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I think P4 is good for now. I mean, this is the first time I've ever finished down on my qualifying position in WCS, so I don't mind that so much, because that finally means I did a good quali run. So I'm really happy with that, first of all. And then, yeah, I felt I was fastest from the rest pretty much, because I had no match. Obviously, no one was a match for Martin today. But I just couldn't really get a proper run on Mitchell, and he managed his ERS very well, so I really didn't have a good shot at overtaking. And then, yeah, in the final stint, I noticed Gregor was coming because he had a lot fresher tires. So I kind of just saved ERS for a bit, because I just kept it in my mind that in case he does get a run on me, I will need my push to pass to defend. And well, in the end, he didn't really get a run, but I don't think after the pit stops were done, I don't think anything more than P4 was on the table anyway. So.
And I have to point out, based on what you said, actually career best qualifying performance in P2. So we must point that out for you. So certainly something to look forward to for the future. But again, we spoke earlier on and how much effort and practice you put into this round. Is this something you can commit more to for this series? Because you've already had those 2 race wins and certainly more potential to extract out of yourself for the future.
Yeah, well, I always prepare insane amounts for every race, I would say. At least in the double digits hours for every single race that I do, be it GT3 or F1. But yeah, just this race specifically, I worked a lot with Martin again. Just doing hostess together it was really good. That really helped a lot. And obviously next week is the finale of the GT3 series. So after that, besides the VRS stuff I drive for, I can just focus purely on F1. So that will be good. So I don't really have to swap so much. So because that's, and I wouldn't say it's hurting me, but it's definitely a big strain on your free time.
And finally, who gets it done for you at Coanda?
Just my teammates, of course, and Philip Klaus and Jörn for spotting, and our sponsors, Virtual Racing School, Huizenfeld Engineering, SimQuip, T-Tech, JRT, and you guys for the broadcast, of course.
There you go, Jake. Mac Backham, who came home in the 4th position. Not a podium for himself, but still a good result nevertheless. And I have to say, best qualifying performance from him. Actually good to see him putting in a good time early on in that small 15-minute session.
Exactly, doing very, very good. The point standings, though, coming out of Indianapolis as we head towards the Nürburgring. Martin Kroenke on top now, 747 points, and he'll probably be flying a Boeing all the way back home. It's Mitchell de Jong in 2nd, with Gregor Hutu now firmly in 3rd. Matt Backham closes slightly in 4th, with Peter Berryman closing on the pair of them now in 5th position in the championship. But unfortunately, this afternoon, that's all that we are going to have time for here on the iRacing Esports Network. But to those who get us done, Advern Designs, the official graphics partners here at RaceSpotTV, along with ATVO and Apgineer, the official graphics engine here at RaceSpotTV. Your animations were done by Simon Grossman, with live timing and scoring brought to you by Nick Thyssen, as well as Istvan Ballo's Track Cams 22. Make sure that you check them out and the work that gets done with them. But crucially, Johnny Simone on my right, Hugo Luis behind the commentary, or behind the camera, shall we say. I'm hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing. Back to back for the first time this season, and there's no greater place to do it than at Indianapolis, but it will be so sweet for Martin Kroenke if he makes it a three-peat. Not only a three-peat, but a three-peat on your home territory. It's going to be something to check out, as well as all the rest you can find on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure you check this out. But for now, we'll see you in just a few hours' time with Will and Paul for the Fanatec Community event. See you then.